Chapter 25:16. With just the three of you? Duan Lingtian sneered disdainfully as he glanced at the young man who was looking at Tang Xiaoxiao lecherously. Earlier, when he extended his divine consciousness, he had already figured out the background of the three young men in front of him at the first moment. These three young men were only stronger than ordinary people in terms of physique and physical strength. There was no energy in their bodies at all. In Duan Lingtian's eyes, the three of them were no different from ordinary people. You want to capture me? Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Tang Xiaoxiao sneered as she looked at the three young men. She did not take them seriously at all. It seems like these two cultivators are very confident in themselves. The last young man who had remained silent all this while narrowed his eyes when he saw the disdain and mockery on Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao's faces. A cruel and cold smile appeared on his face. Among the three young men, this young man had the strongest physique. In fact, he was 3 times stronger than the other two. Even so, in Duan Lingtian's eyes, this young man was no different from the other two young men. Ha. The first young man laughed. Boss Knox, according to the old rules, you'll hold the line for the two of us. If the two of us can't do it, you'll take over. The boss Knox he spoke of was none other than the young man with the strongest physique who had spoken earlier. Almost as soon as the young man finished speaking, an illusion suddenly appeared on the surface of his and the other young man's bodies. In the blink of an eye, the illusion solidified again. In just a blink of an eye, the two young men who were originally 1.8 meters tall had grown to 3 meters tall. At this moment, the two of them were completely immersed in a special metal that had distinct edges and was as smooth as a mirror. It looked extremely flexible. It looked like a mecha from the sci-fi movies on Earth in Duan Lingtian's previous life. The ones in the movies were fictional, but the ones in front of him were real. Mecha? Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow. He did not expect the mecha from the sci-fi movies in his previous life would actually exist. Isn't your Saint Domain a small mundane plane? Don't tell me you guys have this mecha too? Tang Xiaoxiao was slightly surprised when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. But I thought small mundane realms don't have planets, galaxies, and stellar regions like ours? It's really called mecha? Duan Lingtian was stunned by Tang Xiaoxiao's words. He didn't expect the thing in front of him to actually be called a mecha. Could it be that in my previous life on Earth, a person with a mecha from a highly advanced galaxy had once come to this world? Otherwise, how could there be such a thing as mecha on Earth? Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian could not help but make such a guess. Duan Lingtian did not believe that the word mecha was made up by the people on Earth after learning that there really was a mecha in this galaxy ruled by technology. Although the world was big, it was impossible for there to be such a coincidence, right? Just then, a square lens embedded in the left eye of one of the mecha's mecha suddenly flashed. Then, he said to the young man who had not transformed into a mecha, Boss Knox, it seems like you don't have to do anything. These two cultivators are not even 100 years old. That's right. 2 cultivators under 100 years old are nothing to worry about. The other young man who had transformed into a mecha said. Of course, their transformation into mecha was completely done through technological means. They can detect our age? Duan Lingtian glanced at Tang Xiaoxiao in surprise. It's normal. Tang Xiaoxiao did not seem surprised at all. The mechas they transformed into have detection abilities. Don't be fooled by the fact that they only have a lens in their left eye. It's not an ordinary lens. The structure inside it is beyond your imagination. Duan Lingtian nodded. He had already detected this with his divine consciousness. Not more than 100 years old, the young man who was addressed as Boss Knox by the 2 young men who had transformed into mechas laughed. His eyes were filled with disdain when he looked at Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao again. He had a very good understanding of cultivators. It was difficult for cultivators below the age of 100 to enter the Saint Celestial stage. In the several dozens of galaxies around the Cost Galaxy, there were only a handful of people below the age of 100 who had a cultivation base at the Saint Celestial stage or above, but they were still extremely rare. His 2 companions' strength was comparable to a powerhouse at the 3rd form of the Saint Celestial stage after they had transformed into mechas. Therefore, in his opinion, It was impossible for the man and woman before him to be at the Saint Celestial stage or above. Even if they were at the first, second, or third form of the Saint Celestial stage at most. In fact, there were only a handful of cultivators below the age of 100 who were at the fourth form of the Saint Celestial stage or above in the dozens of galaxies around the Kost galaxy. He did not think he would be so unlucky as to encounter cultivators at that level. Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao were unaware of Nox's thoughts. Otherwise, they would have laughed out loud. Fourth form of the Saint Celestial stage? After all, both of their cultivation bases were above the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage. They were eminent celestials after all. Most importantly, they were not ordinary eminent celestials. Duan Lingtian's strength was comparable to a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. Tang Xiao's strength was comparable to a 5-tribulation bodiless celestial, even though she was not as strong as Duan Lingtian. However, Nox actually thought they had not broken through to the fourth form of the Saint Celestial stage. Naturally, Nox could not be blamed for thinking so. This was because none of the dozens of galaxies near the Kost galaxy were ruled by cultivators, and none of them had been unified by any force. This was because the forces in those galaxies were small and unknown forces in the Yanhuang plane. The reason there were only a few small forces in those galaxies was because there were no cultivation resources in those galaxies. In those dozens of galaxies, there were no cultivation resources. In other words, the powerful forces did not care about the cultivation resources in those galaxies at all. Forces like the Tang sect and the Celestial Master sect didn't care about the cultivation resources in those dozens of galaxies, so they disdained to take root there. Even forces that were much weaker than the Tang sect and the Celestial Master sect did not care about the cultivation resources in those galaxies. In ordinary small forces, those who were below the age of 100 who had broken through to the fourth form of the Saint Celestial stage or above were considered rare geniuses. On top of that, the Kost galaxy, which was completely ruled by technology, was located in a remote area. Usually, the cultivators who came here were people from the dozens of galaxies around it. For this reason, Nox thought Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao were from those galaxies as well. If he had known Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao were from the Tianji galaxy, which was ruled by the Tang sect, he would not have dared to underestimate them. Since these two are not even 100 years old, you should be able to crush them with your strength. Nox looked at Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao disdainfully before he said to the two young men operating the mechas, "Kill the man and leave the woman alive." When he reached the end of his sentence, a look of unbridled lust could be seen in the depths of his eyes. Kill. Almost as soon as Nox finished speaking, the mechas operated by the two young men immediately moved again. Ka, 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 ka. Although the two mechas looked clumsy, they were very agile when they moved. One of the mechas extended its right arm, and a fine steel blade appeared in its hand. It gleamed coldly as though it could cut through anything. The other mecha extended its left arm, and a black hole appeared at the end of its left arm. A white light flashed from the hole, and it grew brighter and brighter. In the end, it looked as though it was about to burst out of the hole. Whoosh! In just a blink of an eye, the first mecha charged toward Duan Lingtian like a bolt of lightning. The blade in its hand was pointed at Duan Lingtian's chest. The reason why his speed was so fast was because there was a pushing force behind him. This pushing force came from the 3 vacuum recoil devices behind him, which emitted vacuum cannons to propel him forward at an extremely fast speed. This speed, it's comparable to a powerhouse at the fourth form of the Saint Celestial stage. Although the speed of the mecha was like a snail in Duan Lingtian's eyes, he was still shocked. The speed of this mecha was comparable to a powerhouse at the fourth form of the Saint Celestial stage. Duan Lingtian was still in shock over the speed of the mecha that was charging toward him. Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang, a white beam of light shot out from the muzzle of the other mecha's left arm, which was filled with white light. It was a laser cannon. That's a laser cannon? Its power is comparable to a powerhouse at the fourth form of the Saint Celestial stage. A hint of surprise could be seen in Duan Lingtian's eyes as he raised an eyebrow. Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao remained motionless in the face of the attacks from the two mechas. It was as though they had completely ignored the attacks from the two mechas. Chapter 25:17. There's no reaction at all? It seems like these two cultivators haven't even broken through to the Saint Celestial stage. How boring. These were the thoughts of the two young men who were controlling the two mechas. They were in their mechas. While their faces were filled with hostility, their eyes could not help but reveal waves of disappointment. They were disappointed by Duan Lingtian and the other young man's strength. After all, even a cultivator at the first form of the Saint Celestial stage would not be so passive when faced with their attacks. How weak! Nock, who was standing nearby, sneered disdainfully when he saw this. A hint of disdain could be seen in his eyes. However, in the next moment, the sneer on his face froze. How's this possible? Two cries of alarm rang out. They were the voices of the two young men operating the two mechas. At this moment, one of the mechas had already arrived in front of Duan Lingtian. Moreover, the fine steel blade in his hand had already pierced towards Duan Lingtian's chest. With the might of his sharp blade, even if it was a thick and heavy steel plate, it would be easily pierced through. However, at this moment, his blade was only a foot away from Duan Lingtian's chest, but it could not move any further. It was as if it had been forcefully stopped by an invisible force. Boom, 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 boom. At the same time, the laser cannon shot out by the other mecha continued to hit the air a foot away from Duan Lingtian. A series of explosions rang in the air. However, the continuous explosions did not even affect Duan Lingtian, who was more than a foot away at all. How's this possible? You want to kill me with the attack of a powerhouse at the fourth form of the Saint Celestial stage? Don't you think you've underestimated me? When Duan Lingtian heard the exclamations from the two young men operating the mechas, he grinned. His smile was very bright. In the next moment, Duan Lingtian's purple robe swayed slightly. Even when the two young men piloted their mechas and attacked Duan Lingtian with the full force of a cultivator at the fourth form of the Saint Celestial stage, they did not even cause Duan Lingtian's robe to sway. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's robe moved slightly. Retreat. Run. The two young men operating the mechas exchanged glances with each other before activating the vacuum recoil system in front of them. They wanted to fire their vacuum cannons and use the recoil force to quickly escape the scene. However, could they escape? Trying to escape? Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. Then, with a flash of his body, he appeared unhurriedly in front of the mecha holding the sharp blade in his hand. With a punch, he directly punched through the mecha. Then, with a shake of his arm, the mecha was shattered into pieces. In the next moment, Duan Lingtian reached into the mecha and grabbed the young man who was piloting the mecha. After grabbing the young man, Duan Lingtian continued to fly at a leisurely pace. Naturally, in Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaozhao's opinion, Duan Lingtian's speed was neither fast nor slow. However, in the eyes of the three young men, Duan Lingtian's speed was terrifyingly fast. Although Duan Lingtian did not use any techniques and merely moved his body casually, the three young men were not slow at all. In the eyes of the three young men, Duan Lingtian's speed was not inferior to a cultivator at the fifth or sixth form of the Saint Celestial stage. Whoosh! At the same time, the vacuum recoil system in front of the other mecha was activated, and the vacuum cannon shot out to help him retreat. Whoosh! Duan Lingtian's figure was like a ghost as he appeared beside the mecha that was trying to retreat. His right hand was like a dragon as it whistled out, causing the mecha to follow in its companion's footsteps. Following that, Duan Lingtian grabbed the two young men as well. Duan Lingtian held the two young men in his hands, as though he was an eagle holding two chicks. Do you really think you can kill me with this little bit of strength? Duan Lingtian sneered as he looked at Nox, who was standing in the distance. At the same time, he exerted force in his hands and snapped the necks of the two young men, killing them instantly. The two young men were ordinary people with strong bodies. They died instantly when their necks were snapped. Are you Tong Jinxiang or Wu Baifeng? Seeing his two companions die in the hands of the purple-clothed young man in front of him, Nox's face immediately turned gloomy as he asked in a deep voice, Tong Jinxiang and Wu Baifeng. These two people were well-known figures in the dozens of galaxies around the Kost Galaxy. They were famous not because of their strength, but because of their innate talent. They were the only two male cultivators who had broken through to the fifth and sixth form of the Saint Celestial stage below the age of 100 in the dozens of galaxies around the Kost galaxy. For this reason, Nox instinctively assumed Duan Lingtian was one of them. Tong Jinqiang? Wu Baifeng? I'm sorry. I've never heard of them. Duan Lingtian replied nonchalantly when he heard Nox's question. You're not them? Then you. Nox's expression changed as he asked in a deep voice, You're not a cultivator from the galaxies around the Kost galaxy? Of course not. Duan Lingtian glanced at Nox meaningfully. Do I remember? Earlier, you asked them to kill me? When Duan Lingtian reached the end of his sentence, his eyes shone with killing intent. Sir, although I ordered them to kill you, you've killed them to vent your anger. Why don't we just let this slide? After witnessing Duan Lingtian's strength and realizing how strong Duan Lingtian's innate talent was, Nox did not plan to continue fighting with him. He was not confident he could kill Duan Lingtian. Even if he could kill Duan Lingtian, he would still be wary. Who knew if there was a powerful force behind this talented cultivator? It would be fine if that force was not as strong as his clan. If he was stronger than the family behind him, it would definitely bring disaster to his family. It was even possible that his family would be exterminated because of this. There were many similar cases in the Yanhuang Plain. I'm sorry. Duan Lingtian shook his head when he heard Nox's words. Put aside the fact that I'm not used to letting people who want to kill me live. I'm afraid even my friend doesn't want you to live. Sometimes, a person has to pay the price for his words. Duan Lingtian's tone was calm, but Nox's expression changed drastically when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. There's no need to waste your breath on him. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Tang Xiaoxiao stepped into the air at a speed that was neither fast nor slow. Similarly, she did not cast any technique, but her speed was so fast that Nox could not react in time. When Nox regained his senses, she was already in front of him. Swoosh! Nox's expression changed drastically as he cried out, You can't kill me. I'm from the Garnier clan. Human. As soon as Nox finished speaking, Tang Xiaoxiao's hand shot out at lightning speed and left a rivet between Nox's eyebrows. This rivet was the most common hidden weapon Tang Xiaoxiao carried with her. She had tens of thousands of them in her spatial ring. Therefore, this rivet was nailed into Nox's forehead. After killing Nox, she didn't even take it off because it wasn't anything rare to begin with. The Garnier clan? I've never heard of them. Tang Xiaoxiao's expression was terrifyingly calm as she watched Nox's body fall from the sky. She was not affected by what had just happened. She looked at Duan Lingtian and said with a faint smile, Let's go. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded. Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao left as though nothing had happened. Duan Lingtian did not bring Tang Xiaoxiao along with him. Both of them flew toward the boundless starry sky at a leisurely pace. Don't the people in a galaxy ruled by technology have any cultivation? The reason Duan Lingtian did not bring Tang Xiaoxiao along was because he was confused and needed Tang Xiaoxiao's help to clear up his doubts. After all, there was no technology in the Saint Province realm. Although he was from Earth in his previous life, and there was technology on Earth compared to the technology he had just seen, the technology on Earth was like a baby who had just learned to speak. It could not be compared to the latter at all. Tang Xiaoxiao immediately responded to Duan Lingtian's question. Didn't you check their bodies when you probed them with your divine consciousness earlier? The structure of their bodies is very different from ours. Although they have meridians in their bodies, they're intermittent. Although cultivators who have reached a certain level of strength can perform meridian and marrow cleansing on people like them, allowing them to be reborn and be able to cultivate from then on. However, there are too many of them. It's unrealistic to cleanse their meridians and marrows for them. In this kind of situation, this kind of person is also starting to take a different path and develop technology. Don't underestimate their technology. The mechas we encountered earlier are nothing compared to the most advanced technology in Yanhuang realm. As Duan Lingtian listened to Tang Xiaoxiao's words, they left planet Satel in the Kost galaxy and entered the boundless starry sky. They traveled through space with their physical bodies. Meanwhile, on planet Saturn, in a huge modern city that was full of technology, There was a rapid breathing sound coming from the top floor of a tall building that looked like a pillar supporting the heavens. This was due to a projection that appeared in a spacious office on the top floor of the skyscraper. The image in the projection kept changing. If Duan Lingtian were here, he would have recognized the man and woman in the projection as him and Tang Xiaoxiao. Chapter 25:18. The Garnier family was one of the top forces in the Cost Galaxy in terms of overall strength. There were only two other families in the Cost Galaxy that could be compared to them. At this moment, at the top floor of the skyscraper commercial technology building under the Garnier family, the number one person in the Garnier family, the patriarch of the Garnier family, Dal, was staring at the scene of a young man being killed in the projection. The young man who was killed was called Knox. He was his only son. Although he had more than a dozen children, he only had one son who could inherit the family business. The rest were all daughters. And now, his only son was dead. He was killed by a female cultivator. Beep, 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 beep. Soon after, a series of ear-piercing alarms rang out from the high-tech watches on the hands of every important member of the Garnier family, causing their expressions to change. What's going on? Something must have happened since the patriarch summoned us. Let's go. Let's go. In the Garnier family's residence, all the important figures and high-ranking officials of the Garnier family were gathered in a modern and high-tech manner. It was worth mentioning that the Garnier family's mobilization of its members had frightened its two old rivals, the other two powerful families in the Cost Galaxy that were not any weaker than the Garnier family. These two families had also gathered their high-ranking officials for a meeting. What's going on in the Garnier family? Have you found out? Don't tell me the Garnier family is trying to do something to us. That's why they're using this as an excuse to deceive us. That's possible. After all, this is not the first time the Garnier family has spread fake news. The high-ranking officials of the other two families could not help but discuss among themselves after they had gathered. The two families were wary of the Garnier family's high-ranking officials because they had gathered all the important figures and high-ranking officials of the Garnier family in the Garnier family's huge and modern meeting room that was filled with technology. Everyone's attention was focused on the huge projection at the end of the meeting room. It's Knox. Soon after, three people appeared on the projection. Everyone in the Garnier family knew one of them. It was the son of the patriarch of the Garnier family, the young master of the Garnier family. The following scene caused their expressions to turn ugly. A male cultivator first destroyed the mechas operated by the two companions of the young master of the Garnier family and killed them. Then, another female cultivator killed the young master of the Garnier family. Provocation, provocation. This is undisguised provocation. How many years has it been? How many years has it been since the great Garnier family was provoked like this? In the long history of the Garnier family, every person or force that dares to challenge the Garnier family's bottom line has never had a good ending. They will not be an exception. The entire conference room was in an uproar. The higher-ups of the Garnier family were filled with righteous indignation. They could not wait to kill the two cultivators in the projection and tear them into pieces. To be honest, not many people cared about Knox's death. Some of them even rejoiced because Knox's death meant that their descendants would have the opportunity to become the next patriarch of the Garnier family. However, Knox's death humiliated the Garnier family and made them very angry. Silence. In the end, Dal, the clan leader of the Garnier family, said loudly. Everyone in the conference room finally fell silent. After everyone had quieted down, he continued to say, I've gathered everyone here to deal with these two cultivators. They killed my son and brought shame to the Garnier family. Only their blood can wash away the shame of the Garnier family. Based on the projections, I can see their cultivation bases are at least at the 5th form of the Saint Celestial stage, or even higher. For this reason, I've gathered everyone here to discuss what kind of weapon we should use to kill them. Dal said, I suggest we use the disaster-level battleship. An old man with a white beard said in a deep voice, Disaster-level battleship? Many people in the conference room could not help but gasp when they heard the old man's words. Grand Elder, is there really a need for that? Although these two cultivators are at the 5th form of the Saint Celestial stage, their strength is not even at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage. It doesn't seem necessary to mobilize the most powerful battleship in our family just for these two people, right? A middle-aged man took the lead and said to the white-bearded old man. Many people nodded in agreement. In their opinion, their family's disaster-level battleship was capable of killing even loose immortals. It seemed like they were making a mountain out of a molehill for two cultivators who were not even at the seventh form of the Saint Celestial stage. Great Elder, there's no need for that, right? Even Dar, the patriarch of the Garnier family, was shocked by the white-bearded old man's words. That is necessary. The white-bearded old man continued in a deep voice. It has been many years since someone dared to provoke our Garnier family. This time, someone came to provoke us, so we must deal with them without holding back. At the same time, let everyone in the Cost Galaxy see. Although our Garnier family has been dormant for many years, it's only a temporary slumber. Once we wake up, we'll be invincible tigers. The white-bearded old man's words were very clear. The reason why the disaster-level battleship was deployed was not only to kill the two cultivators, but also to establish its dominance. I agree with the Great Elder's suggestion. Soon, someone agreed with the white-bearded old man, the Grand Elder of the Garnier family. It's true that our Garnier family has been dormant for many years. It's time for us to show our might. For this reason, I agree as well. I agree. After a few moments, everyone in the meeting room, except for Dar, the patriarch of the Garnier family, expressed their support for the Great Elder's suggestion. Since everyone agrees, Dar ordered in a deep voice. In that case, the Garnier family will dispatch the disaster-level battleship to kill those two cultivators. Now, all department heads, listen to my orders. Satellite Intelligence Department, immediately lock onto the location of the two cultivators. News and Public Relations Department, immediately announce to the entire Ka star system that the Garnier family will be using the disaster-level battleship to seek revenge and wash away the shame of our family. Also, prepare to project the entire process of killing the two cultivators to every corner of the Cost Galaxy. Let everyone in the Cost Galaxy know that those who offend the Garnier family will not have a good ending. After Dar gave his orders, the department heads of the Garnier family's Satellite Intelligence Department and News and Public Relations Department immediately left to make the necessary arrangements. Great Elder. Dar looked at the white-bearded old man. Now, you and I will head to the preparation department together and authorize the deployment of the disaster-level battleship to kill the two cultivators to avenge my son and establish the might of the Garnier family. Dar's eyes were bloodshot from the beginning until the end. After all, the one who died was his son, his only son. Following the Garnier family's actions, not only did the Cost Galaxy's mother planet, Planet Satel, tremble, but all the planets in the Cost Galaxy trembled as well. Someone killed the young master of the Garnier family? Moreover, its two cultivators? Do they have a death wish? This is our territory, not the territory of those cultivators. I heard that the Garnier family is even preparing to deploy the disaster-level battleship to kill the two cultivators. The disaster-level battleship? Heavens! That's the most powerful weapon in the Cost Galaxy. Only the three great clans, including the Garnier family, have it. The three great clans are able to stand at the top of the Cost Galaxy because of the disaster-level battleship. They actually deployed the disaster-level battleship? Are the two cultivators bodiless celestials? Similar discussions spread across the planets in the Cost Galaxy. Everyone knew that the Garnier family was furious. Planet Satel. On the mother planet of the Cost Galaxy, the other two clans that were as famous as the Garnier family finally confirmed that the Garnier family was not the Garnier family. The Garnier family's actions were not directed at them. Nox, the young master of the Garnier family, was killed by two cultivators? Haha, this is great news. Dar, that old fellow, is probably flustered and exasperated right now, right? However, it seems like the two cultivators are not ordinary. Otherwise, the Garnier family wouldn't have deployed the disaster-level battleship. In another 15 minutes, the Garnier family will broadcast the scene of them killing the two cultivators to the entire galaxy. I can't wait to see it. Speaking of which, I haven't seen a disaster-level battleship in a long time. The disaster-level battleship, it's what our three great clans rely on to survive. It's because of the disaster-level battleship that our three great clans are able to stand at the top of the food chain in the Cost Galaxy, while the other two families in the Cost Galaxy that were as famous as the Garnier family were in a heated discussion. 15 minutes passed by quietly. Projections began to appear in every corner of the planets in the Cost Galaxy. It's them? Chapter 25:19. The projections were projected to every corner of the Cost Galaxy. As long as there were people around, they would be able to see the projections. At this moment, everyone in the Cost Galaxy stopped what they were doing and looked at the projections. A man and a woman appeared in front of them. The man was dressed in a long purple robe. His hair was tied up, and he had dashing eyebrows and bright eyes. He was handsome. Many women in the Cost Galaxy screamed when they saw him. He's so handsome. How can there be such a handsome man among the cultivators? If I can have such a handsome boyfriend, I'd be willing to shorten my life by a few years. He's so handsome. In the Cost Star system, regardless of whether it was a group of young ladies or young ladies, they were all shouting and yelling with infatuation. The purple-clad young man who appeared in the projections was none other than Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian's handsomeness was pure and natural. Coupled with his extraordinary cultivation base, it made him look otherworldly. It was only natural that he attracted a group of young women in the Cost Galaxy. At the same time, Tang Xiaoxiao, who appeared in the projections with Duan Lingtian, appeared in front of the people in the Cost Galaxy. What a beautiful woman! Beauty! Beauty! The women in the Cost Galaxy were not the only ones who were amazed by Tang Xiaoxiao's beauty. The men in the Cost Galaxy could not help but shout when they saw Tang Xiaoxiao in the projections. Although Tang Xiaoxiao was dressed in a loose black outfit, it couldn't hide her curvaceous figure. Coupled with her peerless beauty, it seemed as though everything around her paled in comparison when she appeared in the projections. A perfect match. What a perfect match. Many people in the Cost Galaxy could not help but sigh when they saw Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao walking side by side in the projections. Naturally, most of the women looked at Tang Xiaoxiao with envy. They wished they were the ones walking side by side with Duan Lingtian instead of Tang Xiaoxiao. There were also many men who looked at Duan Lingtian with envy. Such a handsome guy and such a beautiful woman, but they're going to die soon. What a pity. That's right. Rumor has it that the Garnier family is even preparing to use the disaster-level battleship to kill them. A disaster-level battleship? Were they really that strong? To think that the Garnier family would mobilize a disaster-level battleship for them. In the entire Cost Galaxy, only the upper echelons of the Garnier family knew what was going on. The reason the Garnier family decided to use the disaster-level battleship to kill the two people in the projection was not because the two people were so powerful that they had to use the disaster-level battleship to deal with them. Instead, it was because they wanted to establish their dominance. The Garnier family had been silent for too long. Now that they finally had a chance to show off their might in front of everyone in the Cost Galaxy, they were naturally unwilling to miss this opportunity. I don't understand. Is it necessary for the Garnier family to use the disaster-level battleship against these two young cultivators? Many people from the other two families in the Cost Galaxy, who were equally famous as the Garnier family, voiced their doubts. Don't forget that powerful cultivators can rejuvenate themselves and retain their youthful looks. Look at their youthful appearances. Who knows if they're actually old monsters who have lived for thousands of years? That's right. Let alone cultivators. Even we can retain our youthful looks with the help of genetic drugs. Since the Garnier family is willing to use the disaster-level battleship, their strength must be extraordinary. In the end, the people from the two families still felt that the man and woman in the projection were not simple. Otherwise, the Garnier family would not have used the disaster-level battleship to deal with them. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian, who had just left planet Satel in the Cost Galaxy with Tang Xiaoxiao, suddenly came to a halt. He frowned slightly as though he had sensed something. What's wrong? Tang Xiaoxiao asked curiously as she came to a halt. I feel like there's something hiding in the dark, staring at me, Duan Lingtian said. His instincts kept telling him that something was watching him from the dark, causing him to feel uneasy. Initially, he thought it was just his imagination. However, after a while, he realized something was not right. It was likely that he was not imagining things. You have the same feeling as well? Tang Xiaoxiao was stunned. In fact, she had the same feeling as well. However, when she saw Duan Lingtian did not react to it, she did not tell him about it. She thought she was imagining things. However, after listening to Duan Lingtian's words, she realized it was not her imagination. Something's coming. Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes and looked to the east as though he had sensed something. In the blink of an eye, his gaze shifted to other directions one after another. That thing seems to have surrounded us. What's that thing? Just as Tang Xiaoxiao was about to extend her divine sense to investigate, she saw something clearly. With the space where she and Duan Lingtian were standing as the center, gigantic birds were flying toward them from all directions. When she got closer, she realized that it wasn't a giant bird at all. Battleships. Tang Xiaoxiao narrowed her eyes as she looked at the battleships that were closing in on her and Duan Lingtian in just a blink of an eye. A cold gleam flashed in her eyes as she narrowed them. Battleships? Duan Lingtian regained his senses when he heard Tang Xiaoxiao's words. As it turned out, the 18 giant ships floating in the air that surrounded him and Tang Xiaoxiao were the battleships mentioned in the sci-fi movies in his previous life. However, the battleships in front of him were different from the ones Duan Lingtian had seen in the sci-fi movies in his previous life. Each of these battleships was like a huge bird. Their size was comparable to the legendary Kuan Pong in his previous life. Their wings were like clouds that covered the sky. As soon as they appeared, they would cover the sky and bring darkness to the world. It seems like the person I killed, Knox, who claimed to be from the Garnier family, is not a simple person. Tang Xiaoxiao said, if I'm not mistaken, these battleships are disaster-level battleships. Disaster-level battleships? Duan Lingtian was stunned. Disaster-level battleships? There are different levels of battleships?
Yes.
Tang Xiaoxiao nodded before she patiently explained. The so-called disaster-level battleship is capable of unleashing an attack that is akin to a natural disaster. There might be a flash flood, a volcanic eruption, a violent storm, or an earthquake. Apart from that, disaster-level battleships can kill bodiless celestials. Duan Lingtian gasped when he heard Tang Xiaoxiao's words. Kill loose immortals? Was it this high-tech warship in front of him? Duan Lingtian naturally knew how strong itinerant immortals were. Even those unranked bodiless celestials who had not passed the first bodiless celestial tribulation were comparable to powerhouses at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. A 1 tribulation bodiless celestial was comparable to a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, while a 2 tribulation bodiless celestial was comparable to an eminent celestial. A 3 tribulation bodiless celestial was even stronger than an eminent celestial. Not to mention the even more powerful itinerant immortals, of course. Duan Lingtian was also clear in his heart. Since Tang Xiaoxiao had said the disaster-level battleship was capable of killing bodiless celestials, it meant the bodiless celestials it could kill were not just bodiless celestials who were first tribulation bodiless celestials or second tribulation bodiless celestials. At the very least, it would be able to kill a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial or even a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial. 18 disaster-level battleships? Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow when he saw the 18 disaster-level battleships surrounding him and Tang Xiaoxiao. This is quite a big deal. Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao hovered in outer space. 18 disaster-level battleships that were as large as giants hovered around them like moving fortresses. The moment he appeared in the projection and landed in the eyes of the people from Cursed, it gave them another wave of intense visual shock. All of the disaster-level battleships in the projection were tens of millions of times larger than Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao. They were like ants in front of any of the disaster-level battleships. However, at this moment, there were 18 disaster-level battleships surrounding them. There was no way for them to escape. Heavens! 18 disaster-level battleships. Who are these 2 cultivators? Many people in the Cost Galaxy cried out. At this moment, they felt their mouths go dry. The scene in the projection before them was simply too frightening. These are disaster-level battleships? Moreover, all of them are disaster-level battleships? Although the Garnier family said they would send out a disaster-level battleship to seek revenge, I thought they would only send out one disaster-level battleship. I didn't expect they would send out 18 disaster-level battleships. I heard the Garnier family has 13 disaster-level battleships. However, it seems like they've been hiding them. There are 18 disaster-level battleships in the projection. What I'm more curious about is, who exactly are these two cultivators? How powerful are they? To think that the Garnier family would send out 18 disaster-level battleships just because of them. Many people in the Cost Galaxy felt their scalps go numb when they saw the projection. In the projection, a purple-clad young man and a black-clad young woman stood in outer space. Around them, 18 huge, cold battleships floated there. All kinds of weapons silently extended and aimed at them. Chapter 25-20. We're the disaster-level battleships of the Garnier family. Patriarch Dahl of the Garnier family wishes to speak to you. When the 18 disaster-level battleships aimed their weapons at Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao, an emotionless voice rang out from the loudspeaker of one of the disaster-level battleships. It was as though a thunderclap had exploded in Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao's ears. It's really the Garnier family. Although Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao had already guessed the Garnier family had something to do with the 18 battleships, they did not expect the Garnier family to have something to do with them. Now that they heard the voice, they realized that their guess was right. I'm Dahl, the patriarch of the Garnier family. When the voice entered Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao's ears, they saw the projection of the disaster-level battleship. A projection appeared in front of the disaster-level battleship that had spoken earlier. A middle-aged man dressed in modern clothes could be seen glaring at them furiously. Based on the middle-aged man's background, one could see he was in a cabin. The middle-aged man was in the cabin of the disaster-level battleship. It has been a long time since anyone dared to provoke the Garnier family. You two cultivators have killed my son and the young master of the Garnier family. This is tantamount to trampling on the dignity of the Garnier family. Today, the Garnier family swears to kill both of you as a warning to others. When he reached the end of his sentence, the middle-aged man's eyes were burning with rage, ready to burst out at any moment. It's the patriarch of the Garnier family, Dahl. Based on Dahl's words, it seems like he's not only trying to kill the two cultivators, but he's also trying to establish his dominance. The Garnier family has been silent for many years. Today, they're baring their fangs to remind everyone in the Cost Galaxy that the Garnier family is still as powerful as ever. The Garnier family owns 18 disaster-level battleships. Even the other two families might not be a match for them in a one-on-one battle, right? In the Cost Galaxy, many smart people could guess the reason the Garnier family made such a big fuss today when they saw the projection of the patriarch of the Garnier family, Dahl. The Garnier family was trying to kill the chicken to warn the monkey. The death of the young master of the Garnier family was only the trigger. I didn't expect the Garnier family to own 18 disaster-level battleships. Even our family only has 15 disaster-level battleships. The Garnier family has hidden a lot of people. Fortunately, we didn't fall out with the Garnier family. If we really fought, our 16 disaster-level battleships wouldn't be a match for them. The other two families that were as famous as the Garnier family in the Coastal Galaxy could not remain calm after witnessing the strength of the Garnier family. These two cultivators are really unlucky. That's right. I'm afraid that the Garnier family has been looking for an opportunity to show their prowess since a long time ago. Killing the young master of the Garnier family is equivalent to walking right into the Garnier family's jaws. What a pitiful couple, 18 disaster-level battleships. I'm afraid they'll be blasted into smithereens. In the Coastal Galaxy, many people could not help but shake their heads when they saw the 18 disaster-level battleships surrounding the two figures that were as small as ants. Naturally, most of them were gloating over their misfortune. For these people, it had been a long time since something so exciting had happened in the Cost Galaxy. Although the outcome of this battle was clear to them, at least they had seen 18 disaster-level battleships, so it was still very exciting for them. All disaster-level battleships of the Garnier family, listen up, open fire. When the people in the Cost Galaxy saw Dahl, the patriarch of the Garnier family, was about to order the 18 disaster-level battleships to open fire on Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao through the projection, they held their breaths. Before Dahl, the patriarch of the Garnier family, could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by a snort. Oomph! This cold snort seemed to contain magic. Once it was released, it caused the hearts of everyone watching the projection in the Castel galaxy to involuntarily tremble. Even Dahl, the patriarch of the Garnier family, who was in one of the disaster-level battleships, felt a sharp pain in his eardrums when he heard the snort. He was in so much pain that he didn't even have time to finish his sentence after he was interrupted. The person who had snorted was none other than Duan Ling Tian. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian snorted coldly as his figure suddenly swayed. Whoosh! Duan Ling Tian shot toward the disaster-level battleship at an extremely fast speed, as though he had transformed into a meteorite. All the projections in the Kost galaxy had been specially processed. Therefore, even if Duan Ling Tian's speed was extremely fast, they were still able to see the ray of light that soared through the sky in a flash through the projection. How fast! This cultivator must be a bodiless celestial, right? Seeing the scene in the projection, many people in the Kost galaxy shuddered in fear. They could not help but reveal looks of horror on their faces. Their expressions changed again, as though they had just seen a ghost. In the projection, the purple rainbow transformed by the male cultivator was like a meteorite in space, smashing a huge hole in the disaster-level battleship. Bang! When they saw a hole appear in the disaster-level battleship, a loud bang was heard by everyone in the Kost galaxy. They were so shocked that their hearts seemed to stop beating at that moment. Heavens! What did I just see? The disaster-level battleship is destroyed just like that? Even a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial wouldn't be able to destroy the defense of the disaster-level battleship so easily, right? That cultivator, is he stronger than a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial? Many people in the Kost galaxy could not help but speculate. In the next moment, their jaws dropped as they stared blankly at the scene in the projection. Isn't this too much? Heavens! This is a disaster-level battleship. I am not dreaming, right? In the projection, the purple streak of light pierced through the disaster-level battleship. In the next moment, the disaster-level battleship was blasted into pieces by an extremely powerful force, leaving behind a huge mushroom cloud. The mushroom cloud left behind by the explosion caused the void to tremble. There were even visible cracks in the void. However, as these void cracks appeared in the dark space, the people from the Kost galaxy did not notice them at the moment. Even then, the destruction of the disaster-level battleship sent chills down their spines. The disaster-level battleship was blown to pieces by an extremely powerful force. Then, a huge mushroom cloud appeared, and a vast and majestic shock wave swept out in all directions. Whoosh! 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 The powerful shock waves swept out and slammed into the other 17 disaster-level battleships, causing them to sway violently. It seemed as though they would crash at any moment. Is he even human? At the same time, the people in the Kost galaxy who were watching the projection saw an unforgettable scene. When the disaster-level battleship was blasted into pieces, a purple-clad young man walked out of the mushroom cloud at a leisurely pace. He appeared in front of the people in the Kost galaxy, causing them to stare at him with their mouths agape. Rays of light could be seen flashing around the purple-clad young man's body. When the projection zoomed in, one could see that the rays of light were condensed and dazzling. They were like protective talismans that circled around the purple-clad young man. At this moment, the purple-clad young man looked like a god of war. His image was deeply engraved in the minds of the people in the Kost galaxy. That's the patriarch of the Garnier family, Dahl? After a while, the people in the Kost galaxy who were the first to regain their senses realized something. In the projection, the purple-robed young man, who had walked out of the explosion of the disaster-level battleship unscathed, was carrying a wretched figure in his hand. Upon closer inspection, one could see the figure was none other than the patriarch of the Garnier family, Dahl. Who are you? Under the watchful eyes of the people in the Kost galaxy, Dahl looked at Duan Ling Tian with a ghastly expression on his face as he asked. A hint of fear could be seen in the depths of Dahl's eyes. He would never forget what had just happened. Not only did the purple-clad young man charge into the disaster-level battleship of the Garnier family in just a blink of an eye, but the purple-clad young man had also locked onto and captured him. In the next moment, a light shield formed from tens of thousands of sword rays appeared around the purple-clad young man's body. It swept out in all directions and blasted the disaster-level battleship that the Garnier family relied on to survive into smithereens. He believed that if he was not standing next to the purple-clad young man, he would have been blasted into smithereens by the force. Chapter 25-21. You're the patriarch of the Garnier clan? Duan Lingtian glanced at Dar, who was holding the patriarch of the Garnier clan in his hand, as though he was holding a piece of trash, and said calmly, "You can continue to give out orders now. I'd like to see the power of these disaster-level battleships as well." When Duan Lingtian reached the end of his sentence, he raised his head slightly and looked at the remaining 17 disaster-level battleships. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, not only did Dar's expression turn unsightly, but the high-ranking officials of the Garnier clan who heard Duan Lingtian's words had an equally unsightly expression on their faces. Who can tell me? Who is this cultivator? This cultivator is definitely a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. It's impossible for a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial to be unharmed from the explosion. How did our Garnier clan offend such a terrifying person? After all, there are only a handful of 4-tribulation bodiless celestials in the dozens of galaxies around the Castel Galaxy. The Garnier clan has records of all the 4-tribulation bodiless celestials in the dozens of galaxies around the Castel Galaxy. However, there's no record of this person. If this person is a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial, it's impossible for the Garnier clan to make an enemy out of him, let alone send out a disaster-level battleship to kill him. At this moment, the high-ranking officials of the Garnier clan realized they had met their match. The purple-clad young man who looked like a god of war in the projection was at least a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. Even if he's only a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial, he should be able to escape unscathed from the 17 disaster-level battleships of the Garnier clan. It's impossible for us to kill him. If he's a 5-tribulation bodiless celestial, the 17 disaster-level battleships would only be able to injure him lightly. He could even destroy the 17 disaster-level battleships of the Garnier clan, even if he's injured. The Garnier clan can't afford to offend this person. Apart from Dar, who was captured by Duan Lingtian, the high-ranking officials of the Garnier clan quickly called for an emergency meeting. In the end, they reached a consensus. This purple-clothed young man was not someone to be trifled with. If our Garnier family survives this calamity, I'll retire and no longer interfere with the family's affairs. After the emergency meeting, the first elder of the Garnier family said solemnly. After all, he was the one who suggested to kill the 2 cultivators with great fanfare back then. He had to take a lot of responsibility. Clan leader, the result of the emergency meeting is that this purple-clad young man is at least a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. He might even be stronger than that. Get his forgiveness at all costs. Soon after, the chip receiver planted in Dal, the patriarch of the Garnier family, received the message from the Garnier family. He's at least a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial? After receiving the message, Dar's heart trembled. Naturally, he knew what this meant. For tribulation bodiless celestials might not be a match for the 17 disaster-level battleships of the Garnier clan, but they would definitely be able to escape unscathed. If such a person managed to escape unscathed, it would be a disaster for the Garnier clan. As for 4-tribulation bodiless celestials, and even a 5-tribulation bodiless celestial, they could easily destroy the 17 disaster-level battleships of the Garnier clan even if they were only slightly injured. For this reason, regardless of whether the purple-clad young man was a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial or stronger, the Garnier clan could not afford to offend him. Sir, I admit defeat. The Garnier clan will admit defeat. Dar took a deep breath and lowered his proud head as the patriarch of Garnier family. Admit defeat? Upon hearing Dar's words, Duan Lingtian frowned slightly. Based on your words, you don't intend to order the 17 disaster-level battleships to attack me? I wouldn't dare. Dar lowered his head even more. His expression was one of uneasiness. Now, when he thought about what he had just done, there was only regret in his heart. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Therefore, he could only minimize the loss of the Garnier clan. For this reason, he was willing to be humiliated in front of everyone in the Cost Galaxy. What's going on? The patriarch of the Garnier clan has admitted defeat? Meanwhile, the people in the Cost Galaxy who were watching the live broadcast were shocked. What a joke. That was the Garnier clan. As one of the 3 strongest forces in the Cost Galaxy, the Garnier clan could do whatever they wanted in the Cost Galaxy. Moreover, in the dozens of galaxies around the Cost Galaxy, there was not a single force that dared to offend the Garnier clan. However, the patriarch of the Garnier clan had actually admitted defeat to a cultivator. The patriarch of the Garnier clan has admitted defeat to the Garnier clan as well. It seems like the Garnier clan is unwilling to offend this purple-clad young man. It's normal. Didn't you see the strength the purple-clad young man displayed earlier? It's impossible for a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial to possess such strength. Only a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial or above would possess such strength. Does this mean the purple-clad young man's cultivation base is at least a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial or above? If that's the case, then everything makes sense. The Garnier clan doesn't dare to act recklessly in front of a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial or above. The people in the Cost Galaxy knew what it meant to be a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial or above. A 4-tribulation bodiless celestial was not someone a disaster-level battleship could kill. Moreover, they were even stronger than a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. When the people in the Cost Galaxy thought the Garnier clan's actions were embarrassing, they did not laugh at them. After all, they knew even if they were the patriarch of the Garnier clan, they would still do the same. The Garnier clan has bitten off more than they can chew this time. I hope this powerhouse will annihilate the Garnier clan in a fit of rage. In that case, we'll have one less opponent. The other 2 families in the Cost Galaxy that were as famous as the Garnier family hoped that the purple-clothed male cultivator in the projection would destroy the Garnier family in a fit of rage. I'll give you a chance. Order the 17 disaster-level battleships to open fire on me. Duan Tian glanced at Dar, who had his head lowered, and said, I'll give you 5 breaths. If you don't order them to open fire after 5 breaths, not only will I kill you, but I'll annihilate the Garnier family as well. You only have 4 breaths left. As soon as Dar heard Duan Tian's voice, his expression changed drastically. At the same time, Duan Tian's voice was projected into the ears of everyone in the Coastal Galaxy. Madman! Madman! Even if he's a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial, he should be severely injured if not killed by 17 disaster-level battleships, right? I don't think he's a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. He might be even stronger than a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. Otherwise, how could he be so confident that the Garnier clan would order the 17 disaster-level battleships to open fire on him? You have a point. Does this mean he's a 5-tribulation bodiless celestial? The people in the Cost Galaxy were stunned by Duan Tian's words. Soon after, they broke out in discussion again. Similar discussions could be heard in every corner of the Cost Galaxy. What's he trying to do? What's he trying to do? Is he trying to torture himself? The members of the Garnier clan were flustered. They could not figure out why Duan Tian would do such a thing. This cultivator is very confident. It seems like he's not just a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. I hope this cultivator will be able to destroy the 17 disaster-level battleships of the Garnier clan in one go. At that time, the Garnier clan will no longer be one of the 3 strongest clans in the Cost Galaxy. There will only be 2 strongest clans in the Cost Galaxy. The other 2 clans in the Cost Galaxy who were as famous as the Garnier clan were gloating over Duan Tian's misfortune. Sir, Dar looked at Duan Tian as though he wanted to say something. You only have 1 breath left. Duan Tian's tone suddenly turned cold, making Dar feel as though he had fallen into an ice cellar. In the next instant, he no longer dared to hesitate. He quickly ordered the 17 disaster-level battleships of the Garnier clan to open fire on Duan Tian. At this moment, he no longer cared that he was being carried by Duan Tian. It was as though he did not realize that the Garnier clan was in a dire situation. Once the 17 disaster-level battleships opened fire, he would be completely exposed to the attacks of the disaster-level battleships. Open fire! Open fire! Almost at the same time as Dar gave the order, the 17 disaster-level battleships also received the order. Moreover, the order was immediately transmitted to the people operating the disaster-level battleships, causing them to take action immediately. After a few moments, boom, 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 bang, 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 bang. Chapter 25-22. In just a blink of an eye, the people in the Kost galaxy could see Duan Lingtian and Dar, the patriarch of the Kost clan, being bombarded by laser cannons, electromagnetic cannons, supernuclear bombs, and other large-scale weapons. Boom, 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 boom. Deafening explosions reverberated in the air. Even though the energy from outer space collided with each other, the shock wave from the collision tore through the sky and swept toward planet Satel, the mother planet of the Kost galaxy. Boom, boom, rumble. At this moment, the entire planet Satel shook violently from the impact of the 17 disaster-level battleships. As planet Satel shook, all the buildings on planet Satel collapsed as well. They could not withstand the impact of the shockwave from outer space. Fortunately, the tremors were gradually increasing. Otherwise, who knew how many people on planet Satel would have died from this violent earthquake? Because the tremors were gradually increasing, the people on planet Satel had enough time to use all kinds of aircraft to lift themselves into the air, successfully avoiding the violent earthquake that occurred on planet Satel. How terrifying! Is this the power of 17 disaster-level battleships? Under the bombardment of this level of cannon fire, can that cultivator, who seems to be very confident, survive? Is a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial really able to survive after being hit by such a powerful cannon? While everyone on planet Satel was busy leaving the surface of planet Satel and running for their lives, everyone in the Kost galaxy looked at the continuously rising giant mushroom cloud in the projection. Their hearts couldn't help but tremble. Bang, 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 boom, 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 boom. The bombardment from the 17 disaster-level battleships continued for about 15 minutes before it gradually stopped. At this moment, the space that was initially engulfed by thunderous explosions gradually regained its calm. At this moment, the mushroom cloud that had been rising up continuously also began to shrink. That cultivator, is he still alive? Now, everyone in the Kost star system, including the people on the surface of planet Saturn, was staring at the shrinking mushroom cloud in the projection. They were curious if the purple-clothed male cultivator was still alive. Even if he's still alive, he must be severely injured, right? With such a powerful attack, he must be injured. I think so too. Throughout the Kost star system, before the projection, most people thought so. Just as everyone in the Kost galaxy saw the mushroom cloud in the projection getting smaller and smaller, and it was about to disappear, a voice suddenly rang out. Disaster-level battleship. At this moment, a voice that was extremely familiar to them rang out in a leisurely manner. This voice sounded very languid. It did not sound like the voice of an injured person at all. That's all. At the same time, the voice sounded again, continuing the previous sentence. Disaster-level battleship. That's all. The sound came from within the mushroom cloud that was about to disappear. How's this possible? He's not injured at all. Even the robes on his body are intact. Not only is his robe intact, there's not a single wrinkle on it. Even the patriarch of the Garnier family, Dar, who's in his hand, is unharmed. Did they really get hit by the 17 disaster-level battleships' cannons? Heavens! I'm not dreaming, right? Through the projection, everyone in the Kost star system saw an unforgettable scene. The purple-robed young cultivator walked out of the place where the 17 disaster-level battleships had been bombarded for 15 minutes, completely unscathed. Moreover, that was not all. Even the patriarch of the Garnier family who was in his hand was unscathed. 6. Tribulation bodiless celestial. He's at least a 6-tribulation bodiless celestial. When Duan Ling Tian lifted Dal, the patriarch of the Garnier family, Out of the mushroom cloud with a relaxed expression on his face, Doll, who was in a daze, suddenly regained his senses. He could not help but exclaim in shock, "Brother Ling Tian, you're really strong. A sixth tribulation bodiless celestial?" The moment Dar's words left his mouth, everyone in the Cost Galaxy was speechless. It was as though someone had grabbed their throats. Sixth tribulation bodiless celestial? Why would a sixth tribulation bodiless celestial appear in the Cost Galaxy? Why would a sixth tribulation bodiless celestial come to the Cost Galaxy? The strongest cultivator in the dozens of galaxies around the Cost Galaxy is only a 4 tribulation bodiless celestial. This purple-clad young cultivator is a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial? Did Dar, the patriarch of the Cost clan, make a mistake? There's no mistake. Even a 5 tribulation bodiless celestial would be injured by the cannons of the 17 disaster-level battleships. However, this purple-clad young cultivator is completely unharmed. Even his robe isn't damaged at all. He's at least a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial. In the Cost Galaxy, the first to react were the interstellar merchants who frequented the galaxies around the Cost Galaxy. They were knowledgeable, so it was easy for them to determine Duan Lingtian's strength was at least a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial. Naturally, this was also due to the 17 disaster-level battleships. Otherwise, no matter how knowledgeable they would not be able to determine if a person was a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial based on his appearance, figure, and temperament. Since you've cooperated, I'll only kill you from the Garnier family. Before the people from the Cost Galaxy could regain their senses, Duan Ling Tian said as he glanced at the clan leader of the Cost clan, Dal, who was in his hand. At the instant Dar's expression changed drastically, Duan Ling Tian's hand shook as he tossed Dar into the air. Bang! With just a casual slap, he killed Dar, who was not even a cultivator. Patriarch! The members of the Cost clan cried out in grief when they saw Dar being killed through the projection. Let's go. After killing Dar, Duan Lingtian flew toward Tang Xiao, who had been watching from afar. After greeting her, he brought her along with him as he stepped on the sword formation and left. Since Duan Lingtian was traveling at full speed with Tang Xiao, it was as though they had disappeared into thin air. Although the projection had been specially processed, it still could not capture Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao's figures when they left. Only the 17 disaster-level battleships hovered motionlessly in space. It was as though there were 17 gigantic mountains hovering in space. How's this possible? Even the projection can't capture his figure. Even a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial would be able to capture his figure through the projection. However, the purple-clad young man and the female cultivator didn't even leave a trace in the projection. The interstellar merchants in the Cost Galaxy were dumbfounded. After regaining their senses after a long while, the same thought popped up in their minds at the same time. A 7 tribulation bodiless celestial. That purple-clad young man must be a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial. Only a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial would be able to escape from the projection. The Cursed Clan should be thankful that this 7 tribulation bodiless celestial isn't someone who kills indiscriminately. Otherwise, if he was enraged, let alone the Cursed Clan, the entire Cursed Galaxy would be annihilated. His 7 tribulation bodiless celestial would be able to kill all of us before we could escape. The group of interstellar merchants could not help but feel relieved when they realized Duan Lingtian was a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial. They were relieved that Duan Lingtian was not a bloodthirsty person. 7 tribulation bodiless celestial? That purple-clad young man must be a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial at least. Soon after, the speculations of the interstellar merchants spread throughout the Cost Galaxy, causing everyone in the Cost Galaxy to shudder in fear. As for the members of the Garnier clan, most of them were so frightened that they fell to the ground, unable to get up. I deserve to die. I deserve to die. I almost caused the clan to be doomed. The Grand Elder of the Garnier clan kneeled on the ground and took out a laser gun. He pulled the safety pin and fired the gun to atone for his mistake. Over the next few days, the Cost Galaxy gradually regained its peace. However, the scene that day was unforgettable for the people in the Cost Galaxy. The The godlike, purple-clad young man's figure was deeply engraved in their minds. Naturally, Duan Lingtian was unaware of this. It would take Duan Lingtian 3 months to travel from the Cost Galaxy to the galaxy where planet Yinhuang was located, even if he brought Tang Xiaoxiao with him at full speed. During these 3 months, Duan Lingtian learned a lot about the galaxies ruled by technology from Tang Xiaoxiao. The disaster-level battleship isn't the most powerful weapon in a galaxy ruled by technology. That Ka star system is just a star system ruled by ordinary technology. There's an apocalypse-level battleship above the disaster-level battleship. That's the most powerful weapon in Yinhuang realm. After learning about this from Tang Xiaoxiao, Duan Lingtian could not help but ask. Chapter 25-23. Of course not. Tang Xiaoxiao shook her head in response to Duan Lingtian's question. Although apocalypse-level battleships are powerful, one of them can only kill a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial at most. If a dozen of them are deployed, they'll be able to injure a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial. However, if they want to injure a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial, they'll need at least hundreds of apocalypse-level battleships. As for killing a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial, it'll be difficult no matter how many apocalypse-level battleships there are. Unless the 7 tribulation bodiless celestial has a death wish. A 7 tribulation bodiless celestial is able to escape unscathed from an apocalypse-level battleship fleet. As for an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial, they'll only need to pay a small price to destroy an apocalypse-level battleship fleet. As for a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial, it'll be a piece of cake for him to destroy an apocalypse-level battleship fleet. Tang Xiaoxiao paused for a moment before she looked at Duan Lingtian and said, no matter how powerful an apocalypse-level battleship is, it's impossible for it to cast a soul attack. For this reason, no matter how many apocalypse-level battleships there are, they won't be able to withstand a single blow from you. Naturally, an apocalypse-level battleship is much more powerful than the disaster-level battleship we saw in the Cost Galaxy. You should have a better understanding of the disaster-level battleship after the previous encounter. Duan Lingtian nodded. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded. Previously, when he was in the Cost Galaxy, he had asked the patriarch of the Garnier family to order the 17 disaster-level battleships to attack him, not because he was a masochist, but because he wanted to see how powerful the disaster-level battleships were. In the end, the disaster-level battleships had disappointed him. Although the 18 disaster-level battleships in the Cost Galaxy seemed powerful, it only took one apocalypse-level battleship to destroy all of them. Even if 18 disaster-level battleships fired at the same time, it would still be difficult for them to penetrate the hull of an apocalypse-level battleship. Tang Xiaoxiao continued to say, naturally, no matter how many apocalypse-level battleships there are, they're nothing in front of you. In the end, Tang Xiaoxiao gave Duan Lingtian a lift. Needless to say, Duan Lingtian was quite pleased to be praised by Tang Xiaoxiao. Apocalypse-level battleship represents the highest level of technology in the Yinhuang plane. Duan Lingtian didn't forget what Tang Xiaoxiao had told him before. Based on what Tang Xiaoxiao had said earlier, the apocalypse-level battleship was the most powerful high-tech weapon in the Yinhuang dimension. Yes. Tang Xiaoxiao nodded. Indeed, the apocalypse-level battleship represents the most advanced technology in Yinhuang realm. As far as I know, even the 3 large mundane realms who entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone have apocalypse-level battleships as well. It seems that those technologies still can't compare to the peak existences of us cultivators in the mortal planes. Duan Lingtian sighed. Of course. Tang Xiaoxiao said matter-of-factly, think about it. Among us cultivators, 3 tribulation bodiless celestials are considered celestials. Eminent celestials who have just ascended to the Devata realms are only as strong as 3 tribulation bodiless celestials. Duan Lingtian nodded. He was aware of this as well. In the mundane realms, 3 tribulation bodiless celestials and above were considered celestials in the Devata realms. If that's the case, technology really shouldn't be underestimated. Duan Lingtian said, we can't underestimate them. In the mundane realms, those who control technology can't be compared to us cultivators. Because of this, whether it's our Yin Huang realm or the other large mundane realms, The most resource-rich galaxies are basically occupied by us cultivators, let alone the top forces like the Celestial Masters sect and the Heavenly Wave Mansion. Even the second-tier forces like the Tang sect can't compete with those who control technology. Tang Xiao said. Duan Lingtian understood Tang Xiao's words. After all, no matter how many apocalypse-level battleships one had, it was difficult to kill a 7-tribulation bodiless celestial. In the Tang sect, there were 2 8-tribulation bodiless celestials other than the one he had killed. As for 7-tribulation bodiless celestials, according to Tang Xiao, there were at least 10 of them. A force that had 2 8th tribulation loose immortals and more than 10 7th tribulation loose immortals, no matter how many apocalypse-level battleships they controlled, could only lower their proud heads in front of the former, which was the overlord of a galaxy ruled by science and technology. 3 months had passed in just a blink of an eye. We've arrived at planet Yin Huang's galaxy. When Tang Xiao's voice rang in Duan Ling Tian's ears, his heart that was originally calm began to stir. The flaming yellow planet that Tang Xiao mentioned was his hometown in his previous life, Earth. Was he finally arriving at Earth? We're here. About 15 minutes later, Tang Xiao pointed ahead and said to Duan Ling Tian, "Is that the Milky Way where Earth is located?" At this moment, Duan Ling Tian, who had slowed down, saw the galaxy in front of him that looked like a silver waterfall. His heart trembled when he saw the galaxy. Earth meant a lot to him. It was his hometown in his past life. Now that the Milky Way where Earth was located was right in front of him, Duan Ling Tian could not help but feel a little homesick. However, the Milky Way is much larger than the other galaxies we've passed by earlier. After a few moments, Duan Ling Tian, who had regained his senses, had also noticed this. I've long heard that the galaxy where planet Yin Huang is located is not small. Now that I've seen it, it seems like the rumors are true. However, I can feel the heaven and earth spirit energy has become thin even before we get close to the galaxy where planet Yin Huang is located. It seems like the cultivators on planet Yin Huang have completely absorbed all the heaven and earth spirit energy in this galaxy. That's why the galaxy hasn't recovered yet. Just as Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiao were getting closer and closer to the Milky Way, Tang Xiao's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears again. Whoosh! At this moment, Duan Lingtian accelerated and entered the Milky Way with Tang Xiao. After entering the Milky Way, the heaven and earth spirit energy became even thinner. Planet Yin Huang is over there. At the same time, Tang Xiao took out a star map and pointed in a direction to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian nodded and immediately rushed in that direction with Tang Xiao as fast as he could. Along the way, although they were rushing at full speed, Duan Lingtian was still looking at the stars and planets in the Milky Way with great interest. Some of these planets were barren because they were not suitable for any life forms to live on. Some were not suitable for human habitation, so there were all kinds of monsters on them. As for the planets with humans, almost all of them were technological planets. Of course, the technology of these planets was far inferior to the technology of the Kost galaxy. However, compared to the Earth where Duan Lingtian lived in his previous life, the Kost galaxy was thousands of years more advanced. That's the star system where the Earth is located. Not long after, Tang Xiao looked at the star map and pointed in front of them and said to Duan Lingtian, "The solar system." Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up when he saw the planet that looked like a huge fireball in the distance. His breathing quickened as well. His chest rose and fell like a bellows that was constantly being pulled by someone. In the distance, around the planet that looked like a fireball, 8 planets surrounded it like stars surrounding the moon, making it look like a high and mighty emperor. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Duan Lingtian's gaze swept past the 7 planets around the sun before it finally landed on the only remaining planet. That planet was the only one among the 9 planets in front of Duan Lingtian, including the sun, that had signs of life. Swoosh! Duan Lingtian's body swayed as he brought Tang Xiao to a place near the only planet with signs of life. Duan Lingtian stopped when he arrived near the planet. At the same time, he abandoned Tang Xiao and stared at the planet in front of him in a daze. Apart from the excitement in his eyes, there was also a hint of infatuation in them. What a beautiful planet! Tang Xiaoxiao did not notice Duan Lingtian's strange behavior. Her eyes were completely attracted by the blue planet in front of her. On this planet, most of the areas were seas. This is the planet where the Tang sect originated from, planet Yanhuang? I've only heard that planet Yanhuang is a beautiful planet. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, it really lives up to its name. Tang Xiaoxiao muttered to herself as she stared at the beautiful blue planet in front of her. Earth, I, Lingtian, am back. While Tang Xiaoxiao was muttering to herself, a loud voice suddenly rang in her ears. Moreover, this shout was filled with excitement, causing her to be stunned for a moment. Duan Lingtian? She could tell it was Duan Lingtian's voice. Tang Xiaoxiao instinctively turned to look at Duan Lingtian, only to see the afterimage left behind by Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian had already taken the lead and entered the beautiful blue planet ahead of her. Earth? Just now. Did Duan Lingtian call this planet Earth? Isn't this planet Yanhuang? Tang Xiaoxiao was taken aback when she recalled Duan Lingtian's words. She did not know how to react. Chapter 25-24. Since Duan Lingtian did not tell Tang Xiaoxiao about his past life, Tang Xiaoxiao was unaware of the relationship between him and planet Yanhuang. For this reason, Tang Xiaoxiao was puzzled when she heard Duan Lingtian calling planet Yanhuang Earth. Tang Xiaoxiao couldn't figure out what was going on. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian had already entered Earth in a flash. Earth was only a small planet in the Milky Way, let alone in the boundless starry sky. Just 3 months ago, Duan Lingtian had visited planet Satel in the Kost galaxy. In terms of size, it was at least 100 times larger than Earth. Since Earth was so small, Duan Lingtian only needed a thought to cover the entire Earth with his divine consciousness. Nothing on Earth could hide from his divine consciousness. Earth has changed so much in just a few decades. When Duan Lingtian's divine consciousness covered the entire Earth, he discovered the changes on Earth. It was completely different from the Earth he remembered from his past life. Earth's technology was not as advanced as some of the planets in the Milky Way. However, compared to the Earth in Duan Lingtian's memory of his past life, Earth's technology had advanced by a few hundred years. It's only been a few decades. How could Earth have changed so much? Duan Lingtian was shocked by the fact that Earth's technology had advanced by a few hundred years in just a few decades. Moreover, the souls of the humans on Earth are as strong as the souls of the people in the Kost galaxy. They're not any weaker than mine. Duan Lingtian scanned the entire Earth with his divine consciousness and deliberately probed the humans with extraordinary auras. He discovered that many of these humans had souls that were as strong as his soul. After all, his soul was at the level of an eminent celestial. It was the limit of the soul of an ordinary human in the mundane realms. As for bodiless celestials, they had surpassed the limits of ordinary humans. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? At some point, Tang Xiaoxiao had also entered Earth from space and found Duan Lingtian easily. She and Duan Lingtian were both half-step immortals. Their souls and divine senses were similar. They could easily cover the entire Earth. Therefore, it was not difficult for them to find Duan Lingtian. I remember you once told me that the reason the souls of the people from the Kost galaxy could reach the limits of ordinary people in the mundane realms was because they had taken the gene medicine. Duan Lingtian looked at Tang Xiaoxiao and said, "Moreover, you said the potion can only improve their souls to the limit of an ordinary human soul in the mundane realms. However, they can't extend their divine consciousness through their souls, let alone launch soul attacks." When Duan Lingtian had first met the people of the Kost galaxy in the Kost galaxy, he had discovered that their souls were no weaker than his when he extended his consciousness. Later on, he learned from Tang Xiaoxiao that the souls of the people from the Kost galaxy were so strong because they had taken the gene medicine. Moreover, they could not extend their divine consciousness or launch soul attacks. Even so, it was impossible for him to use his soul attack against the people from the Kost galaxy. This was because the souls of the people from the Kost galaxy were no weaker than his soul. Moreover, their defenses were so strong that his soul attack could not hurt them at all. But why are some of the people here so strong as well? Duan Lingtian looked at Tang Xiao Xiao with a puzzled expression on his face. Half of the reason why their souls are so strong is because of the gene elixir. However, because the gene elixir they took was too low grade, they needed to break through their body's limits multiple times. They used the method of increasing their willpower to raise their souls to the limit and reach a level comparable to our souls. After Tang Xiaoxiao extended her divine consciousness, she quickly discovered the reason why the people on Earth had souls that were as strong as hers and Duan Lingtian's. For this reason, some of them can use their souls to sense things in heaven and earth. For example, they can sense natural elements. When Tang Xiaoxiao reached the end of her sentence, her divine consciousness locked onto a certain place on Earth. Over there were two people fighting. Following that, Tang Xiaoxiao took out a jade token that was inscribed with dense inscriptions. She inserted her divine consciousness into it before she crushed it. Whoosh! In the next moment, a constantly changing mirror image appeared in front of her. The constantly changing mirror image was the scene that Tang Xiaoxiao had discovered with her divine consciousness. A man and a woman were fighting in a unique way. One of them controlled fire while the other controlled lightning. They seemed like Dao cultivators. Duan Lingtian muttered to himself. There was something else that he did not say out loud. These two people looked more like the superhumans in the sci-fi movies he had watched in his previous life. They're not Dao cultivators. They're superhumans. Tang Xiaoxiao shook her head when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. Generally speaking, superhumans are the products of places with mediocre technology. Due to the mediocre technology, the genetic medicine developed is of a very low level. It can't directly enhance a person's soul to its peak. Just as I said earlier, under such circumstances, anyone who can break through the limits of their body, raise their willpower, and raise their soul to the extreme will be able to use their soul to sense the natural elements in the world. And after perceiving the natural elements between heaven and earth, the person who can control them is a superpower warrior. Just like them. Tang Xiaoxiao looked at the two people in the mirror image as she said, "They're superhumans? Why didn't you mention this to me before?" Duan Lingtian was stunned. "I didn't mention this to you because there's no need to." Tang Xiaoxiao shook her head and said, "Unless they're lucky enough to become half-baked cultivators, their achievements will be limited. Let's not talk about cultivators like us. Even an ordinary person in the Cost Galaxy can easily kill the best of the best among the mutants when operating the lowest grade mecha." Upon hearing Tang Xiaoxiao's words, Duan Lingtian understood why she did not mention superhumans. In her eyes, superhumans were as insignificant as ants. She did not think it was necessary to mention them. What happened on Earth in the past few decades? Earth's technology has advanced by hundreds of years in just a few decades. At this moment, Duan Lingtian had too many questions in his mind. Fortunately, my motherland is still around. Almost half of the people on Earth who have reached the peak of their soul are in my motherland, Hua. Duan Lingtian heaved a sigh of relief when he discovered this through his divine consciousness. In his previous life, he was an orphan. He did not know who his parents were, and he did not know if he had any relatives in this world. However, his motherland had nurtured him, and he had devoted all his efforts to his motherland. After becoming the best soldier, he had fought for all kinds of glory for his motherland. Even after he retired from the military, he still secretly protected his motherland. Those who offend my motherland will be punished no matter how far away they are. This was Duan Lingtian's unshakable belief in his previous life. It was still the same even now. It was also because of this belief that he was framed by his manager in his previous life, which led to his death. I wonder if that guy is still alive. If he's still alive, he must be doing well now. Duan Lingtian knew his agent in his previous life very well. He was not someone who was willing to be ordinary and had the ability to make himself extraordinary. In his previous life, his agent had approached him personally. The only reason she was able to gain his trust and become his manager was because she had once saved his life. Even if he did not have his agent's help at that time, he would not have died. He could have escaped successfully at the cost of serious injuries. However, he had always been grateful. Therefore, he had agreed to his agent's request and allowed him to stay by his side. After that, the agent was cautious and conscientious. After a long period of contact, he, who did not have any relatives or friends, regarded him as a brother. However, he did not expect that, in the end, it was this person who he regarded as a brother who betrayed him. I hope you're still alive. With this thought in mind, Duan Lingtian extended his divine consciousness again and began to carefully investigate the people on Earth whose souls had reached the pinnacle. These people were the best among the mutant warriors. The reason why he began to investigate these people was because Duan Lingtian subconsciously thought, since the Earth had changed so much over the past few decades, not to mention why the Earth had undergone such a huge change, based on his understanding of his agent, the other party would definitely not miss this opportunity. He would definitely use his keen sense of smell to seek the greatest benefits for himself. Sure enough, he's there. Originally, Duan Lingtian was still guessing whether his agent in his previous life would be among the hundreds of elite mutant warriors on Earth whose souls had reached the pinnacle. He did not expect that his agent really was there. Under the careful investigation of his divine consciousness, he found his agent in his previous life among the hundreds of elite mutant warriors. Decades had passed, but the agent's appearance had not changed at all. He still looked so young. Duan Lingtian was not surprised by this. With the current technology on Earth, some genetic agents were enough to keep people young, of course. This was only limited to the appearance of youth. With the current technology on Earth, the aging of internal organs could only be moderately delayed. It's good that you're not dead. I was really worried that you were dead. Chapter 25. Ever since Duan Lingtian was betrayed by his agent in his previous life, his soul had traveled to the Saint Province realm. Although Duan Lingtian hated his agent from the bottom of his heart and wished he could tear him to pieces, he did not do so. At that time, he did not think he would have a chance to return to Earth. Later on, he met the pagoda spirit of the Seven Treasures' exquisite pagoda, the three-legged golden crow, Hua Lao. However, the conditions for returning to Earth were too harsh, and it would take a long time. It would take him hundreds or even thousands of years to return to Earth. At that time, would his agent still be alive? The answer was no. Because of this, even at that time, he could only think about taking revenge on his manager from his previous life, knowing full well that it was unrealistic. Under such circumstances, the manager in his previous life would naturally not become his obsession. However, ever since he entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone, he had learned that it was not difficult for him to return to Earth. Moreover, it had only been a few decades since his death in his previous life. Therefore, it was highly likely that his manager was still alive. For this reason, Duan Lingtian's dead heart was revived. Killing his manager to avenge his previous life had unknowingly become an obsession in the depths of his heart. That obsession was like a seed that was planted deep within Duan Lingtian's heart, and it gradually took root and sprouted. Even Duan Lingtian did not notice this at first. It was not until Yun Qingyan appeared and threatened Ke with his family and friends that Yun Qingyan forced her to leave him. At that time, Duan Lingtian wanted to improve his strength as much as possible. However, in the end, he discovered that his agent in his previous life had killed his agent. The hatred for his manager in his previous life had taken root in the depths of his heart, and it had become the biggest obstacle for him to improve his strength. He discovered it was getting harder and harder for him to comprehend the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords. In the end, he could no longer improve his strength. It was not that he had reached a bottleneck, but it was because of his obsession. So, under these circumstances, even though Ke and his friends were forced to leave, he was filled with unwillingness and pain. He could only temporarily bury the unwillingness and pain in the depths of his heart, and he didn't dare rashly touch it. Because with his current strength, even if he wanted to save Ke, his family, and his friends, he was powerless. The only thing he could do now was to wait for the celestial ascension force to lead him to the Devata realm. Only after he arrived at the Devata realm would he be able to find out where the divine offering land was that Ke had mentioned to him before she left. Before he ascended, what he had to do was to improve his strength as much as possible. However, if he wanted to further increase his strength, the obsession that stemmed from the vengeance of his manager in his previous life had also become a huge obstacle in his path of increasing his strength. If he wanted to increase his strength, he would first have to get rid of that obsession. For this reason, He left the Saint Province realm and returned to Earth in the Yin Huang realm. If his manager in his previous life had not died, his obsession would not have disappeared even after he ascended to the Devata realm. He would instinctively think that he had not gotten rid of his manager before he ascended to the Devata realm. That would be a devastating blow to his cultivation in the future. For this reason, he had to get rid of his manager before he ascended to the Devata realm and completely get rid of the obsession in his heart. You seem to be living a good life now, Duan Lingtian muttered to himself. Duan Lingtian's divine consciousness locked onto his manager in his previous life. Duan Lingtian's manager was lying on a luxurious beach chair in the sky garden of a luxurious cruise ship, enjoying the sea breeze. There were 3 sexy beauties in bikinis on either side of him. 2 of the beauties were massaging his legs, one on his left and one on his right. There was also a beauty who was constantly feeding him grapes that had been peeled. The 3 beauties were of different nationalities. One had blonde hair, one had brown hair, and one had black hair. However, since I'm back, your good days are over. Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed coldly as he disappeared into thin air. Tang Xiaoxiao, who was standing at the side, did not know how to react. This guy, where did he go this time? Tang Xiaoxiao was stunned. Ever since she came to Yanhuang, she had a feeling Duan Lingtian was strange. However, she could not pinpoint what was strange about him. On Earth, there were still a few big countries, including Hua, that ruled the world. However, in addition to Hua, the other big countries were more or less infiltrated by a powerful superpower warrior organization called the Devil's Hand. Hua was the only country that was completely independent. It seemed like it was about to become the strongest country in the world. All of this was because China had a deep foundation and followed the trend of history during the Nirvana change a few decades ago. A large number of outstanding Esper warriors had risen, and those Esper warriors were all taken in by the Chinese government, causing China's strength to soar. Currently, there were 2 major organizations of super warriors on Earth. One of the organizations was the Soul of Yin Huang, whose mission was to protect Hua. The other organization was the Devil's Hand, which was independent of the big countries on Earth. Most of the members of the Soul of Yin Huang were from Hua. However, there were very few Hua members in the Devil's Hand. Most of them came from other countries. Only a few people knew that the leader of the Devil's Hand was a purebred Hua man. Currently, Due, the leader of the Devil's Hand, was enjoying a vacation on a luxurious private cruise ship. Beside him, there were 3 hot beauties from different countries circling around him. These 3 beauties were all carefully selected by his subordinates before they were presented to him. Master, I heard that you almost defeated Long Jinghua, the leader of the Soul of Yin Huang, a month ago? A blonde beauty with a hot body in a bikini put the peeled grapes in her hand into the mouth of Due, the leader of the Devil's Hand, who was lying on a luxurious beach chair. She smiled and asked Due in fluent Chinese. Smack! Due raised his hand and slapped the blonde beauty's butt. Under the blonde beauty's rebuking gaze, he said, You're pretty well informed. That's right. A month ago, when I fought Long Jinghua, I almost defeated him. However, Due paused for a moment. Due paused for a moment before his eyes shone brightly. Give me 1 more year, and I'll definitely be able to defeat Long Jinghua. 1 year. At most, I'll need 1 more year for my form and will fist to produce inner energy. I'll become a form and will fist Grandmaster. As he spoke, Due's tone became a little hurried. It was obvious that he was very excited. Master, I heard that you're able to stand out among the super warriors because of the form and will fist. May I know where you learned the form and will fist? As far as I know, the Xingyi fist that is being passed down in the world is incomplete. The black-haired beauty who was massaging Due's left leg looked at Due and asked, Master, according to what you said, your form and will fist can even give birth to inner energy. According to rumors, only the complete form and will fist can give birth to inner energy and step into the Grandmaster stage. Girl, you're quite knowledgeable. Due looked at the black-haired beauty deeply before he said slowly, That's right. I've cultivated the complete form and will fist. I'm afraid I'm the only one on Earth who has mastered the complete form and will fist Grandmaster. A proud expression appeared on Due's face when he reached the end of his sentence. When the Nirvana change happened on Earth, He seized the opportunity and became one of the first people to consume the gene reagent. Then, with the help of the form and will fist manual, he broke through the limits of his body and transformed his soul many times. That was how he became one of the top super warriors. He was one of the first people to become one of the top super warriors. In addition, he practiced the form and will fist. Therefore, his strength was considered to be one of the most outstanding among the group of ability users who rose to prominence later on. Initially, he had planned to make a name for himself in Hua. However, at that time, there was someone in Hua Nation who could stand up to him as an equal. That person was none other than Long Zhenghua. Long Zhenghua was from the Long family, an ancient martial arts family in Hua. He was also the leader of a secret department in Hua. After Long Zhenghua became one of the top superpowered warriors, he began to recruit superpowered warriors on a large scale and formed the Soul of Yanhuang, a superpowered warrior organization, to serve the country. As the saying went, there can't be two tigers on one mountain. Under such circumstances, Dewey, who was not willing to submit to others and was full of ambition, left China and made a name for himself outside the country. He even established the superpower organization, the Devil's Hand. Later on, he established the Devil's Hand, which became the only superpower warrior organization on Earth that could compete with the Soul of Yanhuang. Master, where did you learn the form and will fist, Grandmaster? The black-haired beauty asked again. She was clearly filled with curiosity towards this matter. I learned it from a manual. As for the manual, it was left behind by an unlucky person. Dewey replied nonchalantly, Unlucky person? However, Dewey did not notice that there was a person hovering in the air above the cruise ship with an angry expression on his face. This person was none other than Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian was here because he was a famous celebrity. His manager from his previous life was on the cruise ship he was standing on. Chapter 25-26. In Duan Lingtian's previous life, his manager, Du Wei, was like a brother to him. For this reason, when Duan Lingtian heard Du Wei wanted to cultivate the form and will fist, he personally taught Du Wei. When he saw that Du Wei did not have the patience to cultivate the form and will fist, he drew a manual of the form and will fist and gave it to Du Wei. When Duan Lingtian died in his previous life, Du Wei's mastery of the form and will fist was only at the entry level. However, he did not expect Duan Lingtian to be so powerful. After a few decades, Du Wei had not only become a top superpower warrior, but he also seemed to have a place for himself on Earth with the help of the Xingyi fist manual he had left behind. Is the leader of the Soul of Yanhuang, Long Zhenghua, who he mentioned? Is he Instructor Long? In Duan Lingtian's previous life, the person he was closest to was his manager, Du Wei, whom he treated like a brother. However, the person he respected the most was none other than his instructor from his previous life, Long Zhenghua. It could be said that Long Zhenghua was the one who had trained him to become an elite soldier. Even after he retired, his strength had surpassed Long Zhenghua, and he had never seen Long Zhenghua again. However, in his heart, he still respected Long Zhenghua. The Soul of Yanhuang? Duan Lingtian had never heard of the existence of this organization in his previous life. Just as Duan Lingtian was about to appear in front of Du Wei and meet his manager, who he treated like a brother, the people on the cruise ship stopped him. The words from the luxurious cruise ship below made him pause for a moment, and he was not in a hurry to show himself. Master, can you tell us? Who is that unlucky bastard? The brown-haired beauty who had remained silent all this while could not help but look at Du Wei curiously. The two beauties turned to look at Du Wei as well. Master, I also want to know who the unlucky bastard is. Master, please tell us. Just as the blonde and black-haired beauties were about to speak, Dewey picked up a limited edition cigar. After the blonde woman lit it for him, he took a puff and said, I'm sorry, Dewey, but I don't know what to do. He took a puff and said, the unlucky bastard was publicly acknowledged as the strongest person in the underground world a few decades ago. Dewey replied, Number 1 in the Earth's underground world? Hearing Dewey's words, the three beauties couldn't help but be frightened, even though they hadn't been born at that time. However, the Nirvana change didn't seem to have happened on Earth a few decades ago, right? Before that, The level of science and technology on Earth was several hundred years behind what it was now. At that time, there weren't any superpowered warriors. Even the most basic form of transportation, flying cars, didn't exist. To be able to be recognized as the #1 person in Earth's underground world during that era, one could only imagine how terrifying that person was. But now, Dewey said, that person was an unlucky bastard. Master, are you talking about the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian? At this time, the black-haired beauty seemed to have thought of something and asked, "You've heard of him?" Dewey narrowed his eyes and looked at the black-haired beauty. For a moment, the latter was so shocked that his face turned pale. Then, he said timidly, I heard my uncle mention him before. My uncle used to be a mercenary. He greatly respects the mercenary king, Ling Tian, from a few decades ago. The king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, Duan Ling Tian, who had been hovering in the air above the luxurious cruise ship, couldn't help but fall into a daze when he heard the black-haired beauty's words. The king of mercenaries. It had been a very long time since he had heard this familiar yet distant form of address. Ling Tian? The person she's talking about has the same name as you. When Duan Ling Tian's eyes were blurred and he could not help but recall the events of his past life, a voice resonated in his ears. It shocked him so much that he instantly regained his senses. Why are you here? At this time, Duan Ling Tian discovered Tang Xiao had come looking for him again. You don't seem to be in a good mood, so I came to have a look, Tang Xiao said. Earlier, when that woman mentioned the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, you seemed to be in a daze. You didn't even notice me when I approached you. Tang Xiao could not help but stare at Duan Ling Tian intently when she reached the end of her sentence. Naturally, Tang Xiao knew this was not the case. Apart from being in a daze, the reason Duan Ling Tian did not notice her presence was because she did not exude any hostility. Otherwise, with Duan Ling Tian's senses, it was impossible for him not to notice her presence. At the same time, Tang Xiao also noticed something was amiss when Duan Ling Tian was in a daze. However, even if she noticed something was amiss, she would never have thought it was Duan Ling Tian. In fact, the Duan Ling Tian standing in front of her was the strongest person in the underground world, the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian. If I told you the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, is me, would you believe me? Duan Ling Tian asked as he looked at Tang Xiao indifferently. It's you. Tang Xiao was dumbfounded when she heard Duan Ling Tian's words. She instinctively thought Duan Ling Tian was joking. However, when she saw Duan Ling Tian's solemn expression, based on her understanding of Duan Ling Tian after spending time with him during this period of time, she could tell that Duan Ling Tian's expression had changed. Duan Ling Tian did not seem to be lying. However, if this was true, it would be ridiculous. An ordinary person from planet Yin Huang a few decades ago had become an eminent celestial after a few decades. Moreover, he was an eminent celestial whose strength was comparable to a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial. Moreover, he was not an eminent celestial from planet Yin Huang. He was an eminent celestial from the Saint Province realm. Tang Xiao was still in a daze when Duan Ling Tian shifted his attention back to the luxurious cruise ship. That's right. The unlucky person I mentioned is the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, Duan Ling Tian said as he took a deep breath. Faced with the curious gazes of the three beauties, Dewey blew out a puff of smoke and said unhurriedly, "At that time, I was Ling Tian's manager." As soon as Dewey said this, the three beauties beside him were dumbfounded. Naturally, they knew very well who Duan Ling Tian was. He was the leader of the Devil's Hand, one of the two strongest super soldier organizations on Earth. Even the leaders of major countries would have to lower their heads in front of him. It could be said that he was one of the strongest men on Earth. However, Duan Ling Tian had just said that he was an eminent celestial. Duan Ling Tian was the manager of the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, a few decades ago. I've never mentioned this to anyone in the past few decades. Since all of you are curious, I'll tell you about it, Duan Ling Tian said nonchalantly. Duan Ling Tian nodded. Speaking of that unlucky person, Ling Tian, in the beginning, I wanted to be his manager because of the benefits he could bring me. However, since he's used to being alone and doesn't trust anyone, it's difficult for me to get close to him. Who do you think I am? How can I not help him? Duan Lingtian's expression turned even more unsightly when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. As it turned out, Duan Lingtian had been saved by Duan Lingtian all those years ago. To think he was so grateful to Duan Lingtian for allowing Duan Lingtian to be his manager. As it turned out, he had been tricked by Duan Lingtian from the beginning. Is he really that Lingtian? Tang Xiao had also heard Duan Lingtian's words. At the same time, she noticed the change in Duan Lingtian's expression. She could see Duan Lingtian's expression was extremely unsightly at this moment. At the same time, Tang Xiao learned from Duan Lingtian that Lingtian had been tricked by Duan Lingtian and was killed by him. He's dead? That Lingtian died a few decades ago? Tang Xiao was stunned. Meanwhile, on the luxurious cruise ship, the faces of the three sexy beauties in bikinis turned pale when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. Their eyes were filled with dread when they looked at Duan Lingtian again. Due had betrayed Lingtian, the king of mercenaries, who regarded him as a brother, and caused Lingtian's death. They despised Duan Lingtian's actions from the bottom of their hearts. Although they despised Duan Lingtian's actions, they did not dare to show their disdain. Speaking of which, if that Lingtian was still alive, with his mastery of the form and wolf fist, he could easily become the #1 person on Earth. Unfortunately, he didn't have the destiny to become the strongest person on Earth. Although he was also recognized as the most powerful person on Earth during that era in the underground world, on the surface, he would have died without a doubt if any large country had mobilized its army to surround and annihilate him at all costs. Unlike me now, even if those superpowers mobilized their army at all costs, they wouldn't be able to kill me. A confident expression appeared on Duan Lingtian's face when he finished speaking. I've always kept what happened a few decades ago to myself, and I've never mentioned it to anyone. Now that I've told all of you about it, it feels good. Duan Lingtian glanced at the three beauties next to him indifferently before he continued to say, however, I don't intend to let more people know about it. After all, it would damage my reputation. So, in order to keep the past a secret, the three of you will have to pay the price for your curiosity. Killing intent flashed in Duan Lingtian's eyes when he finished speaking. Master, we won't tell anyone about this. When the three beauties sensed Duan Lingtian's killing intent, their expressions changed as they hastily begged for mercy. I only believe in the dead. Duan Lingtian smiled. Duan Lingtian's eyes turned cold as he prepared to kill the three beauties. At this moment, an indifferent voice rang in the air. Chapter 25-27. Since you dare to do it, why are you afraid of what others say? This sudden voice that came from the sky caused Due, who was about to attack the three women beside him, to stop. At the same time, he stood up from the recliner. At the same time, Due abruptly raised his head to look at the sky, and his expression changed. His expression changed drastically as he cried out, "Who's that?" At the same time, he could not help but reveal waves of fear in the depths of his eyes. He did not know who the owner of the voice was. However, since the person was able to appear in the sky above the cruise ship without him noticing, it meant the person had some tricks up his sleeve. It's me. As soon as Due raised his head to look at the sky above the cruise ship, the voice rang in his ears again. However, this time, the voice did not come from the sky. Instead, it came from the front of him. Suddenly, Due's body trembled. He shivered and lowered his head slightly. As soon as he lowered his head, he saw a purple figure standing 3 meters in front of him. It was a young man dressed in a long purple robe. His retro-styled outfit seemed out of place with the modern beach pants he was wearing and the bikinis on the three women beside him. Even the luxurious cruise ship they were on did not match his outfit at all. He's an actor? When the three women beside Due heard the voice, they instinctively raised their heads to look at the sky as well. Now, they followed Due's gaze and looked at the purple-clothed youth standing 3 meters away from him. They couldn't help but be stunned. They even thought the young man who was so handsome that they could not take their eyes off him was acting in a historical drama. At this moment, they seemed to have forgotten that they were on the cruise ship. The place where they were now was Due's private luxury cruise ship, so it was impossible for anyone to appear here. Who are you? Wei was a supernatural warrior who stood at the top of the food chain on Earth. He was also the leader of the Devil's Hand, one of the two major supernatural warrior organizations on Earth. For this reason, he quickly regained his senses and looked at the purple-clad young man in front of him warily. The purple-clad young man in the retro-styled outfit gave him a very uncomfortable feeling. Even when facing the leader of the soul of Yin Huang, the other party had never given him such a feeling. How did he appear here? He was still talking in the sky earlier, and in just a blink of an eye, he's already in front of me. Isn't this speed too fast? Looking at the purple-clothed young man, Wei couldn't help but panic. The other party's speed was too fast, and he couldn't help but feel apprehensive. Duan Lingtian stood 3 meters away from Wei. After uttering Wei's name, he stared at Wei coldly. Seeing this, Wei felt a burst of fear in his heart, but he didn't dare to act rashly. The purple-clothed youth before him gave him an extremely dangerous feeling. Ever since he had obtained his current strength and status, this was the first time someone had given him such a feeling. Even if he didn't want to believe it, he had to be cautious. Therefore, he did not dare to act rashly. Just when Duan Lingtian was staring at him like that, Duan Lingtian thought that he should test Duan Lingtian. Whoosh! Suddenly, the faint sound of wind whistling entered Wei's ears. Then, he stared at the purple-clad young man in front of him with widened eyes. A figure had appeared out of thin air. This was a woman dressed in black. Her black clothes were also very retro. Her peerless appearance set off a temperament that seemed to be able to overshadow everything, causing her to not look like a person from Earth at all. She looked more like a peerless beauty from ancient times. The black-clad woman was none other than Tang Xiaoxiao. She had followed Duan Lingtian to the luxurious cruise ship as soon as she regained her senses. As soon as Tang Xiaoxiao appeared, the 3 beauties in bikinis next to Wei paled in comparison. Even the 3 beauties in bikinis felt ashamed of their inferiority when they saw Tang Xiaoxiao's beautiful face. How beautiful! There's such a classic beauty on Earth? Heavens! Who the hell is she? She's so beautiful. Everyone has a love for beauty. Although the 3 beauties in bikinis were also women, they were captivated by Tang Xiaoxiao's peerless appearance. It was as though they had lost their souls when they looked at Tang Xiaoxiao. The 3 beauties in bikinis were already so beautiful, let alone Wei. Ever since Wei obtained his current strength and status, he had been enjoying the most luxurious life, and he was not unhappy at all. This could be seen from the fact that he always brought 3 beauties with him when he went out to sea or went on vacation. Although he had many women with him over the years, none of them could compare to the black-clad woman who had just appeared in front of him. Not only did the black-clad woman have a peerless appearance, but her figure was also much better than the 3 beauties in bikinis next to him. Although the black-clad woman's clothes were slightly loose, it could not hide her alluring figure. If you dare to look at me again, I'll blind your eyes. Just as Wei's attention was completely drawn to Tang Xiaoxiao, Tang Xiaoxiao suddenly furrowed her brows and shouted coldly. Her voice contained some soul-level deterrence. Although Wei's soul was not inferior to Tang Xiaoxiao's soul, which was comparable to that of an eminent celestial. However, half of Wei's soul had been strengthened by the gene potion. For this reason, he was caught off guard by Tang Xiaoxiao's soul intimidation, causing his soul to tremble. His expression changed drastically. Wei's expression changed drastically when he regained his senses. A hint of dread could be seen in his eyes when he looked at Tang Xiaoxiao again. A top-tier spiritual-type super soldier? At this moment, Wei only thought Tang Xiaoxiao was a super soldier who specialized in spiritual interference. Moreover, since she was able to interfere with his spiritual interference, it meant she was at least a top-tier super soldier like him. When he thought about this, he sighed in relief. With his mastery of the form and wolf fist, apart from Long Zhenghua, the leader of the soul of Yin Huang, no other top-tier super soldier on Earth could withstand more than 100 moves from him. However, how did she appear earlier? It was as though she appeared out of thin air. Wei, who had just heaved a sigh of relief, couldn't help but feel a sense of dread when he recalled the scene of the woman in black appearing before him. He had never seen a top-tier super soldier capable of such a feat, not even he could do it. It seems like you don't take my words seriously. Just as Du Wei was feeling fearful, he noticed that the woman in black was looking at him with a cold glint in her eyes. This is bad. Du Wei's heart skipped a beat when he heard the hostility in the black-clad woman's voice. An ominous feeling rose in his heart when he saw the black-clad woman's eyes. As soon as the ominous feeling rose in his heart, whoosh, a gust of wind swept toward him. In just a blink of an eye, Du Wei discovered the black-clad woman who was 3 meters away from him had appeared in front of him as though she had teleported. Before he could react, she raised her hand and slapped his left eye. At the moment the woman raised her hand, he could faintly see a sharp needle that shone with a cold light between her index finger and middle finger. Before Du Wei could react, he felt a sharp pain in his left eye. He could not help but let out a heart-wrenching scream. In the next moment, he discovered his left eye was completely dark. He was blinded. Oh my God! The 3 bikini beauties screamed in unison. They were completely dumbfounded by the bloody scene in front of them. Du Wei's left eye was dripping with blood. Half of his face was stained with blood as well. He looked ferocious and terrifying. After all, this was the leader of the Devil's Hand. Today, he was in such a sorry state in front of a woman. It was as though he was powerless to fight back. At the same time, they could not help but look at the black-clad woman who had teleported back to the purple-clad young man. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. They could not figure it out at all. How could this woman, who looked as weak as them, have such terrifying strength? If they had such strength, how could they be enslaved by Du Wei? Why you? Who are you? At this moment, Du Wei was no longer the manager of the King of Mercenaries. As the leader of the Devil's Hand, it did not take long for him to treat the injury in his left eye. He suppressed his anger and looked at the ground as he asked fearfully. If he still could not figure out how terrifying the black-clad woman was, he would not be fit to be the leader of the Devil's Hand. For this reason, he no longer dared to look at the black-clad woman. He was afraid the black-clad woman would destroy his right eye in a fit of rage. Are you really the King of Mercenaries, Ling Tian, who was betrayed and killed by him a few decades ago? Tang Xiaoxiao ignored Du Wei's question. Instead, she looked at Duan Ling Tian and asked curiously, "What's the matter?" She could not figure it out. How could an eminent celestial from the Saint Province realm whose strength was comparable to a 9-tribulation bodiless celestial be related to an ordinary person who was killed decades ago on planet Yanhuang? Although both of them were called Ling Tian, this was simply ridiculous. But this was too ridiculous, wasn't it? Yes. Duan Ling Tian replied indifferently. He did not look away from Du Wei when he heard Tang Xiaoxiao's question. Du Wei was dumbfounded when he heard Tang Xiaoxiao's question about Duan Ling Tian, the King of Mercenaries, Ling Tian, from decades ago. Chapter 25-28. Du Wei clearly remembered what had happened that year. He had been standing behind the group of gunmen when Ling Tian, the King of Mercenaries, was shot to death. He had even witnessed how Ling Tian's body was disposed of. At this moment, someone had said, "Du Wei, the King of Mercenaries? The mercenary Ling Tian from back then was still alive?" Naturally, he did not believe it. Although he did not believe it, he could not help but look at the purple-clad young man who had responded to the black-clad woman's question. It was none other than the purple-clad young man who had admitted he was the King of Mercenaries, Ling Tian, from a few decades ago. They're two completely different people. With just a glance, he was certain the purple-clad young man before him was a completely different person from the King of Mercenaries, Ling Tian. What? Based on your gaze, you don't believe I'm the same Ling Tian who was betrayed by you and treated you as a brother? When Du Wei looked at Duan Ling Tian, who had never taken his eyes off Du Wei, naturally noticed Du Wei's disdainful gaze. For this reason, he could not help but speak up. "Although I don't know who you are, this joke isn't funny at all," Du Wei said disapprovingly as he looked at Duan Ling Tian. Du Wei looked at Duan Ling Tian and said, "You're right. Joke?" Duan Ling Tian was slightly taken aback when he heard Du Wei's words. His gaze turned colder when he looked at Du Wei. "I remember the cannon fist was the first technique I taught you about the formal fist. I remember my signature is on the top left corner of the last page when I drew the formal fist manual for you. I remember. Duan Lingtian looked at Due coldly as he continued to speak. It was as though he was very familiar with the matter. Only he and Due knew about it. When Duan Lingtian said the second sentence, Due's face changed. As for the things that Duan Lingtian said one after another, every single one of them was only known to him and that mercenary King Lingtian from a few decades ago. Gradually, the way Due looked at Duan Lingtian changed completely. It was as if he had seen a ghost. No. Impossible. Impossible. Due cried out in disbelief when he heard Duan Lingtian's words, interrupting Duan Lingtian. After being interrupted, Duan Lingtian didn't continue. Because he knew Due had confirmed that he was the king of mercenaries, Lingtian, from several decades ago. You were clearly dead. I saw it with my own eyes. How could you not be dead? How is that possible? At this moment, Due was like a madman. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't figure it out. How could someone who died several decades ago come back to life just like that? Moreover, there had been no news of him for several decades. Heavens! Don't tell me he's really the king of mercenaries, Lingtian? Lingtian is so handsome? The three bikini-clad beauties had been stealing glances at Duan Lingtian since the beginning. Now that Due had confirmed that the purple-clad young man was the king of mercenaries, Lingtian, their eyes lit up. At this moment, they thought Due was mistaken about Lingtian not being dead. However, only Due knew that he was absolutely not mistaken. After all, he had personally witnessed Lingtian being killed and Lingtian's corpse being disposed of. It was impossible for Lingtian to be alive. However, the purple-clad young man in front of him had revealed a series of things that only he and Lingtian knew. This proved that the purple-clad young man was indeed Lingtian. Nothing's impossible, Duan Lingtian said nonchalantly. You, how did you manage to survive? Although Due was unwilling to accept this, he had no choice but to accept this fact. After listening to the purple-clad young man's explanation, he was 100% certain that Lingtian was the king of mercenaries. The purple-clad young man in front of him was indeed the king of mercenaries, Lingtian. How I managed to survive has nothing to do with you. However, I'm curious. How did the Earth change so much in just a few decades? Earth's technology is at least a few hundred years more advanced than it was a few decades ago. Duan Lingtian was not afraid Due would run away. For this reason, he was not in a hurry to kill Due. Moreover, Due had killed him in his previous life. He was absolutely irreconcilable with Due. However, if he killed Due, he would not be able to vent his anger. He wanted Due to feel despair so he could kill Due when Due was on the verge of breaking down. Seeing that Lingtian, who had changed his appearance for some unknown reason, did not have the intention to kill him for revenge, Lingtian thought to himself. For this reason, Due could not help but heave a sigh of relief. He did not know how strong Lingtian was at the moment. However, he knew he was no match for the black-clad woman next to Lingtian, let alone the black-clad woman next to Lingtian. Not long after I thought you were dead, due to his fear of the black-clad woman next to Lingtian, Due did not dare to be negligent when faced with Lingtian's question. He quickly told Lingtian everything that had happened on Earth in the past 30 years. Duan Lingtian learned from Due that Duan Lingtian had been through a lot. As it turned out, not long after he was betrayed and killed by Due, a major event had happened on Earth. A spaceship from a technological planet in the Milky Way had arrived on Earth. The people who came down from the spaceship brought a technological civilization to Earth that was hundreds of years ahead of Earth's current technology. After leaving Earth with a technological civilization that was several hundred years ahead of its time, the spaceship left Earth again. It came and went without a trace, as if it had never appeared. If it were not for the fact that the technological civilization left behind by the people on the spaceship did not lie, the people on Earth might have thought it was a dream. In the next few years, because the spaceship was a technological civilization that spread widely across the Earth also experienced a drastic change because of that advanced technological civilization. Many people died, but many people also became successful. Since then, Earth had undergone earth-shattering changes. It was known as the Nirvana change. During that time, Due seized the opportunity and used the form and will fist manual that Duan Lingtian had left him to further master the form and will fist. He became one of the first top mutant soldiers. He even established the Devil's Hand and dominated the area. The Devil's Hand? Even the superpowers in the world are afraid of this organization? Apart from China, there are members of the Devil's Hand in the leadership of every superpower? When Duan Lingtian heard this, he could not help but feel shocked. Naturally, he knew what this meant. This meant that his agent in his previous life now stood at the top of the food chain on Earth. Even the leaders of superpowers had to be respectful when they saw him. "You're doing pretty well." Duan Lingtian looked at Due and smiled coldly. "It's all thanks to the form and will fist manual you left me." When Due heard Duan Lingtian's cold smile, he felt a chill run down his spine. However, he still forced himself to smile. It would have been better if Due had not mentioned this. However, as soon as he mentioned this, Duan Lingtian could not control his emotions. He did not expect that after Due betrayed him and caused his death, Due actually relied on the form and will fist manual that he left behind to obtain such a lofty and honorable position on Earth. He could imagine this if he did not return. Due would have to spend the rest of his life in peace. "I want to know, why did you betray me back then?" Duan Lingtian changed the topic after he learned the reason behind the changes on Earth. He stared at Due coldly as he said, "Brother Due, you're right. In the past, he regarded Due as a friend because Due had saved his life. After many years of interaction, he regarded Due as a brother. Don't tell me, in your heart, I'm just a tool for you to make money?" Duan Lingtian's voice turned colder when he asked this question. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Due fell silent again. At this moment, he was clear that even if he said no in order to curry favor with Lingtian, it would be useless. After all, based on the fact that he betrayed Lingtian, it was clear that he did not regard Lingtian as a friend, let alone a brother. "It seems like you've admitted it." Upon seeing Due's silence, Duan Lingtian's eyes gleamed coldly. Killing intent surged out of his body. As soon as the killing intent spread out, it shrouded Due's body. Due's expression changed. "Initially, I wanted to torture you slowly and let you die in despair." Duan Lingtian said coldly, "However, I've changed my mind. You can't kill me." Before Duan Lingtian could continue, Due said with a ferocious smile on his face, "Lingtian, although I don't know why you're still alive and why you have a woman who's not any weaker than me by your side, however, I want to tell you that even if you're not any weaker than this woman, you can forget about killing me. Even if I'm not as strong as all of you, my foundation on Earth is not something all of you can compare to." Due said arrogantly, "If you dare to kill me today, my people will detonate the super nuclear bombs that the Devil's Hand has hidden all over the Earth. At that time, the entire Earth will be destroyed." Originally, I was going to leave this trump card for those aliens who might come back at any time from the Milky Way and bring Earth hundreds of years of advanced technology and civilization. Chapter 25-29. Whoosh. Duan Lingtian's expression changed slightly when he heard Duan Wei's words. Naturally, Duan Lingtian's expression changed not because he was afraid of the supernuclear bombs that could be detonated at any time. Those supernuclear bombs might be able to destroy the entire Earth. However, even if the Earth was destroyed, he would not be harmed at all. What a lunatic! Duan Lingtian's expression changed because he thought Duan Wei was a lunatic. He had tied his life to the lives of all the people on Earth. If he died, it would not take long before his subordinates detonated the supernuclear bombs all over the Earth. At that time, the Earth would be destroyed, and all the living beings on Earth would not be able to escape death. Duan Lingtian knew Duan Wei was not a simple person. However, he did not expect Duan Wei to have such a trump card after obtaining such a high status on Earth. What a lunatic! Upon seeing the change in Duan Lingtian's expression, Duan Wei naturally thought Duan Lingtian was afraid of the supernuclear bombs that were hidden all over the Earth. He could not help but smile coldly. Perhaps. However, I only did that to protect myself. Back then, the aliens from the Milky Way brought hundreds of years of advanced civilization to Earth. In the eyes of most people on Earth, they were selflessly contributing to Earth, and after they were done, they returned to their planet. However, in my opinion, they must have some ulterior motive. Otherwise, why would they be so kind? A living lay phone? In fact, I feel that they may be treating us Earthlings like pigs and waiting for us to fatten ourselves up before they come and slaughter us. I can order my subordinates to detonate the super-nuclear bombs at a critical moment. The people who control the detonation devices are all brainwashed by me since they were young. They won't even bat an eyelid if I order them to die. Duan Wei said, Super-nuclear bombs? Are they all over the Earth? Once they're detonated, the entire Earth will be destroyed? No, I don't want to die. When the three bikini beauties beside Due heard Due mention the super-nuclear bomb, their expressions completely changed. They fell into shock and panic and didn't recover for a long time. Now that they had regained their senses, there was only panic on their faces. However, I never thought that you, Ling Tian, would actually be able to come back from the dead and have such a powerful woman by your side. Due looked at Duan Ling Tian and lightly said, But so what if the woman beside you is stronger than me? Do you think you can kill me? Unless you're willing to let yourself, the woman beside you, and even the people on Earth die with me. Of course, you can also choose not to believe me and kill me. When he reached the end of his sentence, a playful look appeared on his face. When he looked at Duan Ling Tian again, his eyes were filled with confidence, as if victory was already in his grasp. With your character, it's not surprising for you to have such a backup plan. At this time, Duan Ling Tian's expression had returned to normal. However, his eyes were still cold as he looked at Duan Wei. However, do you really think I'll die if the Earth is destroyed? Don't tell me you want to tell me that you'll survive if the Earth is destroyed? Due sneered and said, Although my people will detonate the super-nuclear bombs all over the Earth 1 month after I'm killed, you have 1 month to find a way to survive. Unfortunately, the technology left behind by the aliens from other planets in the Milky Way didn't have any space navigation technology. Even the space navigation technology on Earth was mysteriously damaged not long after they arrived. What's even stranger is that all the aeronautical scientists on Earth who have mastered important knowledge in this area have either disappeared or gone mad overnight. At this point, Dewey paused. Upon hearing Due's words, Duan Ling Tian could not help but frown. If what Due said was true, then the aliens who came to Earth in the past and brought hundreds of years of advanced technology to Earth did not come with good intentions. By doing this, they were imprisoning the Earthlings and preventing them from leaving Earth to travel into space. Didn't anyone suspect this? Duan Ling Tian asked in a deep voice. Of course, some people are suspicious. At that time, some people questioned the aliens. However, the aliens said it was for the good of the Earthlings. After all, the Earthlings would be in great danger if they left the solar system. When the time was right, they would come to Earth again and bring back space navigation technology. At this point, a mocking smile appeared on Dewey's face. What's laughable is that most Earthlings believe the nonsense of those Earthlings. There were many people who didn't believe it. However, what could they do in the face of a group of mysterious aliens? Speaking of which, a hint of fear flashed in Due's eyes. He was afraid of those aliens of unknown origin. So, you planted a large number of super-nuclear bombs all over the Earth. When the aliens came to Earth and wanted to fulfill their ambitions, you planned to use the super-nuclear bombs to threaten them and negotiate with them. Duan Ling Tian asked indifferently as he narrowed his eyes and looked at Due. Naturally, he did not think Due planted super-nuclear bombs all over the Earth to save the Earthlings. After all, he only wanted to save himself. That's right. Due replied to Duan Ling Tian's question. Since the aliens went to great lengths to imprison the Earthlings, they must have something in mind. As long as I threaten them with the entire Earth, it won't be difficult to obtain benefits from them. Perhaps, when the aliens come again, I'll be able to obtain a gene agent that can prolong my life. I might even be able to leave Earth and travel to other planets in the Milky Way to have a look. Due's eyes lit up when he finished speaking. With Due's current status, he could enjoy all the glory, splendor, and wealth that one could ever dream of on Earth. What he was after now was no longer the things on Earth. What he wanted was to prolong his life and travel to other planets in the Milky Way to broaden his horizons. That's all you've got. Duan Lingtian shook his head when he heard Duwei's words. His eyes were filled with pity when he looked at Duwei. In his opinion, Duwei's ambition was nothing more than the ambition of a frog at the bottom of a well. Leave Earth and travel to other planets? Prolong my life? What's the big deal? What did you say? Duwei's expression changed drastically when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. You said that's all I've got? What makes you think that's all I've got? In Duwei's opinion, Duwei's ambition was unimaginable. His ambition was so great that the average Earthling would not even dare to think about it. However, after listening to him, Duan Lingtian actually said that was all he had after hearing him talk about his ambition. What makes you think that's all I've got? Upon hearing Duwei's words, Duan Lingtian said indifferently, there's no reason. I just think that you're a frog at the bottom of a well. Frog at the bottom of a well? Duwei was infuriated by Duan Lingtian's words. His face paled. Wait for me here for a while. At the same time, Duan Lingtian looked at Tang Xiaoxiao who was standing next to him and said, I'll take this kid with me. I'll bring this frog at the bottom of the well to see the other planets in the Milky Way that he yearns for. By the way, I'll let him know the gap between him and me. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he did not wait for Duwei to react before he waved his hand and disappeared from the luxurious cruise ship with Duwei in tow. In the eyes of the three bikini beauties, Duan Lingtian and Duwei seemed to have vanished into thin air. They were so shocked that they did not regain their senses for a long time. On the other side, swoosh. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian and Duwei had left Earth and arrived in outer space. At this moment, Duwei finally regained his senses. You don't even know how to brag. Do you think you have the ability to take me there? When Duwei regained his senses and was about to mock Duan Lingtian, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. It was to the extent that even his legs were trembling from fear. Heavens! Was he dreaming? Duwei's face turned pale as he looked at the blue planet that seemed so far away yet so close at the same time. At the same time, he looked down and saw that he was in outer space. He was hovering in space outside of Earth, and he didn't use any aircraft. Naturally, he knew this was not the case. Under the pressure of the aliens in the past, it was impossible for the aircraft on Earth to reach such a height. It seems like there's an invisible force supporting me, Duwei thought to himself. After all, Duwei was one of the top super soldiers on Earth. He was also the leader of the Devil's Hand, a super soldier organization that stood at the top of the food chain on Earth. He quickly forced himself to calm down. After he calmed down, he discovered that there was a formless power supporting him, preventing him from falling. You don't even know how to brag? At the same time, Duan Lingtian's voice rang in his ears, scaring him out of his wits. However, when he turned around, he saw that Duwei was standing at the foot of the mountain. Duan Lingtian stood at the side with a composed expression as he looked at him with a mocking expression. It was as though he was looking at a frog at the bottom of a well. How is this possible? How could you reach such a high altitude without using any aircraft? Even a wind elemental warrior can only stand in the air for a moment, at most 100 meters in the air. Chapter 25:30. Duwei had not expected this at all. Along the way, Duwei had encountered many powerful superhumans. He had even seen a wind-type superhuman warrior who could fly more than 100 meters in the air without the use of any aircraft and could hover for a short period of time. Now, he was completely dumbfounded. The purple-clad young man in front of him was standing in space without the help of any aircraft. Am I dreaming? At this moment, Duwei even thought he was dreaming. He did not even hesitate to slap himself in front of Duan Lingtian. The next moment, he felt a burning sensation on his face, which made him even more confused. Just as Duwei was stunned by the burning sensation on his face, Zhang Xian turned around. Now, can you confirm that you're not dreaming? Duan Lingtian's voice resounded in his ears, and it caused his expression to change drastically. It was as though he had seen a terrifying ghost. Who are you? When Duwei looked at Duan Lingtian again, he was completely flustered. The shock that the person in front of him brought to him was too great, so great that he found it hard to accept from the bottom of his heart. Who am I? Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. Didn't you confirm it when we were on the cruise ship earlier? No. Impossible. It's impossible. You can't be Ling Tian. You can't be him. Even if he didn't die decades ago, it's only been a few decades. It's impossible for him to have such an ability like yours. Duan Lingtian's strength had shocked Du Wei. He no longer believed that Duan Lingtian was the Ling Tian from decades ago. I have such an ability? Duan Lingtian smiled. Just the strength I've displayed so far is enough to scare the leader of the Devil's Hand? Now, I'm going to take you to the other galaxies in the Milky Way so you can have a look at my strength. If Du Wei had heard Duan Lingtian's words before this, he would have thought that Duan Lingtian was talking nonsense. However, he did not dare to doubt Duan Lingtian's words now. In his eyes, the purple-clad young man in front of him was not a human at all. How could a human stand in space with just a body of flesh and blood? Most importantly, Du Wei was not a human. It was one thing for him to stand alone in space, but to think that he could even bring an ordinary person with him to stand in space with him. After witnessing Duan Lingtian's strength, Du Wei no longer dared to regard himself as a top mutant. In front of such a powerful person, he was no different from an ordinary person. Whoosh! It was as though a gust of wind had blown through space. In the next moment, Duan Lingtian and Du Wei began to make their way out of the solar system. Originally, with his speed, it would not take him long to leave the solar system. However, in order to let Du Wei have a good look at the scenery in space, he deliberately slowed down his speed. Du Wei was carried by Duan Lingtian's invisible force. He felt as though his body was bound by something, and he could not move at all. In his panic, he could only move his eyes. Under such circumstances, he could clearly see the scene of him approaching the sun in the solar system. Du Wei's expression changed when he brushed past the sun. He was afraid he would be burned by the sun. After all, in his opinion, the temperature of the sun was terrifying. Even the temperature of the sun can't hurt him? When Du Wei saw Duan Lingtian and Du Wei were completely unscathed, he could not help but feel even more shocked. Whoosh! At this moment, Duan Lingtian suddenly sped up. Du Wei only saw a blur in front of him. The sun that looked like a huge fireball gradually disappeared from his sight. In just a blink of an eye, it had turned into a small red dot. This is another star system in the Milky Way, Du Wei muttered to himself. At the same time, Duan Lingtian and Du Wei arrived in outer space on a barren planet and came to a halt. When Du Wei heard Duan Lingtian's words, he took a closer look and discovered that they were already far away from the solar system. Do you see the planet in front of us? At the same time, Duan Lingtian's voice sounded. Du Wei followed Duan Lingtian's finger and looked in the direction Duan Lingtian's finger was pointing. He saw a grayish-yellow planet in front of them. It was obvious that the planet did not have an ocean like the one on Earth. How is the size of this planet compared to Earth? Duan Lingtian asked as he glanced at Du Wei. Although Du Wei did not know why Duan Lingtian would ask such a question, after witnessing Duan Lingtian's shocking strength, he quickly answered Duan Lingtian's question even though he had been trembling in fear throughout the journey. It's at least 5 or 6 times bigger than Earth, Du Wei replied. You have a good eye. Duan Lingtian nodded slightly when he heard Du Wei's words. This planet is about 5 times bigger than Earth. Do you think the super-nuclear bombs you planted on Earth can destroy this planet? Duan Lingtian asked again. No. Although Du Wei did not know why Duan Lingtian asked this question, he answered honestly. Then, do you think a person can destroy a planet with his own strength? Duan Lingtian asked again. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Du Wei's expression changed drastically. When he looked at Duan Lingtian again, his eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. He was not stupid. Naturally, he understood what Duan Lingtian meant. However, he still did not believe Duan Lingtian. Even if Duan Lingtian could bring him across space, he did not think that Duan Lingtian had the strength to destroy a planet 5 times bigger than Earth. It should be noted that 5 times the size of Earth meant that the surface of the planet was extremely deep. Even a supernuclear bomb with 5 times the number of the supernuclear bombs he planted on Earth would not be able to destroy this planet. Even a supernuclear bomb with 10 times the number of the supernuclear bombs he planted on Earth would not be able to destroy this planet. This was because the explosion range of a supernuclear bomb was limited. It would be difficult for it to cover the surface of the planet. Judging from your eyes, it seems like you don't believe me? It was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to see through Du Wei's eyes that he did not believe Duan Lingtian. In response, Duan Lingtian only said this one sentence and did not say anything else. Instead, under Du Wei's gaze, Duan Lingtian turned around and looked at the barren planet 5 times the size of Earth. Then, he slowly raised his hand. This planet was barren. There was no life on it. It was obvious that this planet was not suitable for life. Apart from the fact that this planet is not suitable for life, it doesn't have any rotation with other planets. Even if it's gone, it won't affect this galaxy at all. Duan Lingtian thought to himself as he raised his hand. This was the reason he had chosen this planet. He did not want to harm the innocent, nor did he want to destroy the balance of the planets in the galaxy. For this reason, he had chosen this unimportant barren planet. Watch carefully, Duan Lingtian said indifferently as he raised his hand. Although he did not look at Duan Lingtian, Du Wei knew Duan Lingtian was reminding him. For a time, he stared fixedly at Duan Lingtian without blinking, as if he was deeply afraid he would miss the next scene. Elementary devouring tactic. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, that was considered extraordinary even in the Devata realms. In just a blink of an eye, a whirlpool appeared in the air and merged with Duan Lingtian's body before it began to devour the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings. All of this happened in just a blink of an eye. It was so fast that Du Wei did not even have time to see it clearly. Du Wei only saw a black shadow flash before Duan Lingtian's body, but he did not see what it was. Swoosh! In the next moment, under Du Wei's watchful eyes, Duan Lingtian's hand that had been raised a long time ago suddenly surged with majestic energy. The radiance of his power soared, as if it had turned into a scorching sun. Du Wei couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Meanwhile, bang! Under Du Wei's watchful eyes, Duan Lingtian's hand that was filled with strength slowly pressed down on Du Wei's hand. His palm pressed down in the direction of the barren planet. As Duan Lingtian's men pressed down to a certain extent, boom! In the void, a huge handprint fell, and a terrifying power swept out. It even caused the space to collapse, leaving tiny cracks in the void. At the same time, a terrifying shockwave spread out in the void, and it was clearly visible. Although Du Wei was under the protection of the Duan Lingtian's power, he was not affected at all. However, he could still see it clearly. The void in front of him was distorted by Duan Lingtian's power, and ripples spread out like a stone falling into a calm water surface. While Du Wei was stunned by this scene, he was momentarily in a daze. Bang! An earth-shattering sound rang out from the direction of the barren planet. Du Wei snapped out of his daze and instinctively looked in the direction of the barren planet. Boom! 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 As soon as Du Wei looked at the barren planet, another series of loud noises rang in his ears. In the next moment, his vision was obscured by a cloud of dust, making it impossible for him to see the situation of the barren planet. However, a moment later, when the dust settled, his pupils suddenly shrank and widened. It was as though his eyes would pop out at any time. Chapter 25:31. As the dust in front of him dissipated, Du Wei was shocked to see that the dust in front of him had disappeared. The planet that was 5 times the size of Earth had disappeared without a trace, as if it had never existed in the first place. All that was left was a boundless starry sky. Gone? That's a planet. And it's a planet that's 5 times larger than Earth. Du Wei stared blankly at the boundless starry sky in front of him. His emotions were in turmoil, rising and falling continuously. He was unable to calm down even after a long time. If he could, he would rather believe that everything in front of him was a dream. However, after the probing just now, he was certain that the young man was not a fool. Everything in front of him was not a dream. It was real. Back then, after I was betrayed by you, I did die. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's voice rang in Duwei's ears, causing him to regain his senses. At the same time, he was shocked. Could it be that this purple-clothed young man was the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, who was betrayed by him several tens of years ago? Impossible. Impossible, impossible. Duwei didn't believe it from the bottom of his heart. Even if Ling Tian did not die a few decades ago, how could Ling Tian possess such a godlike power in just a few decades? In Dewey's opinion, Qin Yi was a genius, destroying a planet that was 5 times the size of Earth with just a flip of the palm. This kind of power was far beyond the scope of his understanding. It was like the power of a god. However, I was lucky. Although I died, for some unknown reason, my soul was transported to another world. In that world, I was reborn. Duan Lingtian looked at Duan Wei and continued. From the beginning to the end, his face was calm, as if he was narrating an unimportant matter. That world is a world where martial power reigns supreme and the strong are respected. Relying on the various fortuitous encounters in that world, I've been able to reach where I am today after a few decades. Not long ago, I just returned from that world to this world where Earth is. The power that I possess now can be considered as the top power in the first echelon of the world where Earth is located and the endless starry sky. You can boast that you're at the top of the food chain on Earth, but I, Ling Tian, am at the top of the food chain in this world where Earth is located. Duan Lingtian paused for a moment when he reached this part of his sentence. At this moment, Duwei's expression also changed drastically. There was only shock in his eyes. He believed this was the truth. There was no need for this purple-clothed young man. In that case, was this purple-clad young man really the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, who was killed by him a few decades ago? However, he did not expect this Duan Ling Tian would be so. Back then, after Ling Tian died, his soul was actually fortunate enough to be transported to another world. In just a few short decades, he possessed a strength that allowed him to stand at the top of the food chain in this world. For a moment, jealousy and hatred appeared in the depths of his shocked eyes. Why? Why did a dead person do better than him? Perhaps, in your opinion, the Milky Way is already the world that I'm talking about. Duan Ling Tian looked at Du Wei and said indifferently, however, I want to tell you that the world Earth is in is called the Yin Huang realm. In the Yin Huang realm, there are countless galaxies like the Milky Way. Even in the Yin Huang realm, the Milky Way is just a very backward galaxy with a lack of heaven and earth spirit chi. Some powerful cultivators and even forces with top-notch high-tech civilizations don't even bother to take root here. You might be shocked when you saw how I destroyed a planet with just a wave of my hand. You might even think that not many people in this world are capable of this. However, I want to tell you that I didn't use my full strength earlier. And there are many cultivators who can do what I just did in the world where Earth is located, which is the Yin Huang realm. Moreover, the apocalypse-level battleships controlled by the forces with advanced technology are capable of destroying the planet with just one blast. Duan Lingtian looked at Duan Wei with disdain when he said this. Now, do you think you're a frog at the bottom of a well? Your ambition is nothing but a joke in front of a true powerhouse. In fact, Duan Wei's heart skipped a beat when he heard Duan Lingtian's words earlier. Duan Lingtian did not use his full strength earlier when he destroyed the planet with just one blast. In this world, there were actually so many people who could destroy a planet with their own strength. Furthermore, the apocalypse-level battleship, possessed by a force that possessed a top-notch high-tech civilization, could destroy that planet with just one shot. A frog at the bottom of a well, unknowingly, a bitter smile appeared on Du Wei's face. It was just as Duan Lingtian had said. He was indeed a frog at the bottom of a well in the face of Duan Lingtian's words. To me, the so-called backup plan you left behind on Earth is nothing but a joke. As long as I'm willing, I can use my divine consciousness to lock on to anyone who has come into contact with you. This is because anyone who has come into contact with you will more or less have your aura on them. Duan Lingtian looked at Duan Wei indifferently and continued to say, for this reason, it's not difficult for me to find the men of sacrifice you've cultivated who have mastered the super nuclear detonation device. In fact, as long as I want to, I can find all the nuclear weapons on Earth in half an hour at most and throw them into space, letting them be destroyed in space. Bang! Bang! Duan Lingtian's last two sentences were like a sledgehammer that slammed heavily on Duan Wei's chest. His face turned pale, and his eyes glazed over as though he had lost his soul. He did not doubt Duan Lingtian's words at all. After all, this was a person who could destroy a planet 5 times the size of Earth with just a flip of his palm. At this moment, Duan Wei felt the scheme he had set up in the past was nothing but a joke. I've said all that I have to say. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian's indifferent gaze that had been looking at Du Wei suddenly turned cold and piercing. Now, it's time to settle the old score between you and me from decades ago. As soon as Duan Ling Tian finished speaking, a terrifying killing intent surged out of his body. As soon as the killing intent swept out and enveloped Duan Ling Tian, Duan Wei's expression changed drastically. He looked at Duan Ling Tian with a panicked expression and said anxiously, Duan Ling Tian, Tian, little brother Tian, don't kill me, don't kill me. Brother Wei was wrong. Brother Wei knows his mistake. Brother Wei really knows his mistake. Fortunately, Du Wei was unable to move his body. Otherwise, he would have collapsed to the ground in fear. Even so, Du Wei's body was still trembling uncontrollably. When Duan Ling Tian saw this, he decided to stop restraining Du Wei's body. Immediately, Du Wei collapsed to the ground. The moment he fell to the ground, he lowered his head to look at the boundless starry sky with a panicked expression. His legs trembled, and drops of liquid fell from between his legs. He was so scared that he peed. At this moment, Du Wei collapsed on a transparent glass-like wall of air that traversed the void. Even though Du Wei did not have acrophobia, he still could not help but tremble with fear. After a while, he discovered that the transparent glass-like wall of air was strong enough to support his body, so he stood up. After standing up, he fell to his knees in front of Duan Ling Tian with a thud. Brother Tian, please spare me, spare me. Back then, it was Brother Wei who was blinded by greed. Brother Wei let you down. Little brother Tian, please don't kill me. Brother Wei knows his mistake. Brother Wei really knows his mistake. Du Wei continued to kowtow as he begged for mercy. His voice was filled with despair. In the past, Duan Ling Tian regarded Du Wei as his brother. Since Duan Ling Tian was older than him, he addressed Du Wei as Brother Wei while Du Wei addressed him as Little Brother Tian. After so many years, Duan Ling Tian did not feel nostalgic at all when he heard this form of address again. In fact, at this moment, there was only disgust in his heart when he heard this form of address. Hypocrite! Duan Ling Tian glanced at Du Wei in disgust before he said indifferently, everyone has to be responsible for their actions. For the sake of our past friendship, I'll give you a quick death. Originally, Duan Ling Tian had planned to slowly torture Du Wei before killing him. However, when he saw Du Wei kneeling on the ground and completely abandoning his dignity, he felt that there was no need for him to waste any more time on Du Wei. Ling Tian. When Du Wei heard the determination in Duan Ling Tian's voice, he knew that once Duan Ling Tian made up his mind, no one would be able to change his mind. For this reason, he did not continue to beg for mercy. He stood up and glared at Duan Ling Tian as he growled, if I didn't kill you back then, how could you be where you are today? If you didn't die a few decades ago, even if you stood at the peak of Earth and became the strongest person on Earth, it would still be incomparable to your current achievements. In other words, I, Du Wei, am the one who made you who you are today. When Du Wei reached the end of his sentence, it was as though he was grasping at a life-saving straw. He shouted hysterically, weren't you very particular about repaying kindness in the past? I've done you such a great favor. If you kill me, the heavens won't tolerate it. You. When Duan Ling Tian heard Du Wei's words, he was stunned for a moment before he laughed out loud. Chapter 25:32. Did I say something wrong? Du Wei shouted, if I hadn't betrayed you and caused your death, would you, Ling Tian, be where you are today? What a twisted argument. Duan Ling Tian sneered. Don't tell me you already knew my soul would travel to another world and achieve my current achievements when you planned to betray me and kill me? At this moment, Duan Ling Tian found Du Wei's words laughable. betrayed him and caused his death? Did he owe him a favor? Ridiculous. Whether I knew it or not, it's the truth. Du Wei continued to shout, "That's why you can't kill me. If you kill me, you'll be repaying kindness with ingratitude. That's not Ling Tian's character, and it's not Ling Tian's style." At this moment, when his life was on the line, Du Wei threw caution to the wind and tried to use morality to coerce Duan Ling Tian. In his opinion, Du Wei was a fool. A few decades ago, Ling Tian was a person who knew how to repay kindness with ingratitude. However, at this moment, he was full of himself. He knew this. Although he had betrayed Ling Tian and caused his death, he had allowed Ling Tian to achieve his current achievements. The benefits he had brought to Ling Tian were more than enough to make up for his past mistakes. You seem to know my character and style very well, right? Duan Ling Tian continued to sneer. With just a thought, Duan Ling Tian withdrew the energy that was supporting Du Wei's kneeling position in outer space, exposing Du Wei's body to outer space. No. In the blink of an eye, the cold air in space froze Du Wei to death as he screamed in agony. Although Du Wei was a super soldier and his soul was comparable to the soul of an eminent celestial, his body was still that of an ordinary person. As an ordinary person, it was impossible for him to survive in space. Bang! When Duan Ling Tian saw that Du Wei was frozen to death and his body was frozen, his expression was calm. He struck with his palm and shattered Du Wei's frozen body. He said he shattered Du Wei's body. At this moment, Du Wei's body was completely frozen from the outside to the inside. Duan Ling Tian's palm whistled out, and it was as though he had struck a solid block of ice. The ice then shattered, turning into ice shards that filled the sky and scattered into space. Under the illumination of the star not far away, they shone brightly. Du Wei, the man who betrayed Duan Ling Tian and killed Duan Ling Tian in his past life, had fallen. When Duan Ling Tian saw Du Wei's frozen body shattering, he raised an eyebrow and closed his eyes as though he sensed something. His entire body stood straight like a javelin in the same place. Almost at the instant Duan Ling Tian closed his eyes and stood straight on the spot. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Waves of rolling power swept out from his body. As soon as the energy was released, it shrouded his body and formed the shape of a sword. Streaks of energy that were condensed into the shape of swords rose from Duan Ling Tian's body and continued to stack on top of each other as though they would never stop. These streaks of sword-shaped energy rose from Duan Ling Tian's body like burning sword-shaped flames. In the end, they gathered together, causing the sword-shaped flames to soar and become increasingly deep. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian was fully immersed in comprehending the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords. In the past, he had only comprehended the 6th sword of the 13 green lotus swords. After that, he could not make any further progress. He always felt there was an obstacle. However, it was not a bottleneck, but an obsession. As for the obsession, it was because of Du Wei, his manager in his past life. Now that Du Wei was dead, his obsession was naturally gone without a fight. As Duan Ling Tian watched Du Wei die, the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords, suddenly appeared in his mind. However, although Duan Ling Tian could ignore the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords, that suddenly appeared in his mind, he did not do so. This was because he knew since the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords, had appeared at this time, there must be a reason for it. If he ignored it, he might miss out on something. Soon after, Duan Ling Tian discovered something. In the past, no matter how hard he tried to comprehend it, he could not make any progress in the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords. At this moment, with just a thought, he could make rapid progress. The speed of his advancement had reached a shocking level. Could it be that I've encountered an epiphany? After this thought flashed through Duan Ling Tian's mind, he no longer dared to be distracted. He devoted all his attention to the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords, and turned a deaf ear to everything around him. Duan Ling Tian stood in space like an old monk in a meditative state. The sword-shaped flames that were formed from the surging energy on his body rose even higher, causing the sword-shaped flames that were hovering above Duanling Tian's head like a gigantic mountain that enveloped Duanling Tian began to soar even higher. Seventh Green Lotus Sword. In the blink of an eye, Duanling Tian had successfully comprehended the seventh sword of the 13 Green Lotus Swords. However, this was not the end. Eighth Green Lotus Sword. Ninth Green Lotus Sword. 10th Green Lotus Sword. It felt like only a moment had passed, yet it also felt like thousands of years had passed. By the time Duanling Tian regained his senses, he had already comprehended the 13th sword of the 13 Green Lotus Swords. Since then, he had completely mastered the divine ability, the 13 Green Lotus Swords. I didn't expect my luck to be so good. I actually entered the state of epiphany when Duanling Tian died and successfully mastered the divine ability, the 13 Green Lotus Swords. When Duanling Tian regained his senses, the sword-shaped flame that was like a towering mountain that enveloped Duanling Tian began to shrink rapidly as soon as Duanling Tian opened his eyes. In the end, it merged with Duanling Tian's body and completely disappeared. It was as though it had never appeared. At the same time, Duanling Tian's eyes flashed coldly when he opened them. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 streams of sword chi whizzed out from his eyes without any warning. While he was startled, they had already dissipated into the void in front of him. Sword chi from the eyes. This is indeed the sign of completely mastering the divine ability, the 13 Green Lotus Swords. During the state of epiphany, Duanling Tian knew he had successfully mastered the divine ability, the 13 Green Lotus Swords. He knew he had successfully comprehended the last few swords of the 13 Green Lotus Swords, including the last sword. However, it was just a feeling after all. For this reason, even he did not dare to say he had mastered all the profundities of the divine ability, the 13 Green Lotus Swords, before he confirmed it. Now that the sword chi from the eyes had appeared, he was even more certain that he had completely mastered the 13 Green Lotus Swords. Sword chi. However, even with the appearance of the sword ray, Duanling Tian still raised his hand and formed a sword with his fingers. When he pointed his finger out, the sword ray whistled as he tested the profundity of the 13 Green Lotus Swords that he had just comprehended. Whoosh! The first sword chi whistled as it shot out. Almost at the same time as this sword gleam whizzed out, another sword gleam whizzed out like a shadow following the body. In the end, all the sword chi merged with the first sword chi, causing the first sword chi to surge. Based on the number of sword chi that shot out, it was clear that Duanling Tian had mastered the divine ability. Duanling Tian had indeed mastered all the profundities of the 13 Green Lotus Swords. Not only that, but he had also cast the remaining 7 swords of the Green Lotus Sword, including the last sword of the 13 Green Lotus Swords. It seems that my previous actions of bringing Du Wei away from Earth with great fanfare, gradually making him despair, and then killing him, although it was somewhat troublesome, it was the right thing to do. It seems that because I did this, I was able to completely vent my anger and let go of the obsession that arose because of him in my previous life. As a result, I was somewhat inexplicably immersed in the enlightenment state of the 13 Swords of Green Lotus, successfully comprehending all the mysteries of the 13 Swords of Green Lotus, and completely grasping the 13 Swords of Green Lotus. Duanling Tian did not expect that Duanling Tian would be able to bring Duanling Tian to Earth with him. Taking Du Wei away from Earth with a single thought and killing him after Du Wei had given up all hope would bring him such benefits. Fortunately, I brought him away. If I had killed him on the luxurious cruise ship, I might not have been able to vent my anger like I did now. If I couldn't vent my anger, I wouldn't have sunk into the state of epiphany of the 13 Green Lotus Swords. Duanling Tian could not help but rejoice when he thought of this. In this way, it was worth it for him to make such a big fuss. You're finally awake. Right when Duanling Tian had slightly recovered from his shock, a familiar voice sounded out by his ears. He looked sideways and saw Tang Xiao sitting cross-legged not far away, looking at him. Why are you here? Duanling Tian was stunned when he saw Tang Xiao. Aren't you on planet Yanhuang? You've been standing here for 5 years. Why do you think I'm here? Tang Xiao shook her head before she continued to ask, You seem to be comprehending some kind of divine ability. How was it? Did you manage to comprehend it? What? 5 years? Duan Lingtian did not hear the second half of Tang Xiao's sentence, since his attention was completely focused on the first half. 5 years? It took him 5 years to comprehend the divine ability, the 13 green lotus swords? Damn it. A month after Duwei's death, his people detonated the super-nuclear bombs that were hidden all over Earth. However, 5 years have passed since then. Earth is destroyed? Chapter 25:33. No. Duan Ling Tian's expression changed drastically. His heart was burning with anxiety when he suddenly thought of something. He looked at Tang Xiao and asked with a burning gaze, Xiao, before you left planet Yanhuang, did you remove the supernuclear bombs that Duan Wei placed all over planet Yanhuang? In Duan Lingtian's opinion, Tang Xiao must have known about this at that time. Logically speaking, Tang Xiao should have helped him since he had not returned for a long time. Moreover, planet Yanhuang was not only his hometown in his previous life, but it was also the cultivation planet of the Tang sect behind Tang Xiao. No matter what the reason was, Tang Xiao would not stand by and do nothing. I followed you a day after you left, but you didn't return. Tang Xiao felt slightly embarrassed when she saw Duan Ling Tian's burning gaze. I've been looking for you for a few days before I finally found you here. Since then, I've been comprehending the divine ability and guarding you until now. Swoosh. Duan Lingtian's expression changed again when he heard Tang Xiao's words. A hint of regret could be seen in his eyes. He regretted that he had sunk into the state of epiphany and missed the opportunity to save Earth. All right, I won't joke with you anymore. Duan Lingtian's expression changed again, but Tang Xiao could not help but chuckle. The awkward expression on her face disappeared in just a blink of an eye. Actually, it's only been 10 days since you left planet Yanhuang, Tang Xiao said. It was obvious she was joking when she said Duan Lingtian had stood in space for 5 years. Duan Lingtian regained his senses as soon as Tang Xiao finished speaking. You, then. He looked at Tang Xiao and pointed at her. You. He didn't say a complete sentence for a long time. It was obvious that he was in a bad mood. It made sense. Just a moment ago, he thought Earth had been destroyed because of his mistake. However, Tang Xiao said that she was joking with him. It had only taken him 10 days to achieve enlightenment, not 5 years. All right, enough with the you. Let's go and solve those troublesome matters. Tang Xiao shook her head with a smile. This was the first time she had seen Duan Lingtian lose his composure since she met Duan Lingtian. For a moment, she was no longer in the mood to joke with Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian was both angry and helpless at this moment. After all, he really thought that he had spent 5 years to comprehend the 13 green lotus swords. Don't make such a joke next time. Duan Lingtian glared at Tang Xiao before he made his way to the solar system where Earth was located. It did not take him long before he returned to the solar system returned. It was just like what Duan Lingtian had told his agent in his previous life, Du Wei. It was not difficult for him to find Du Wei's men of sacrifice. As long as he was willing to spend some time and effort, it would be easy for him to find them. That was indeed the case. Duan Lingtian extended his divine consciousness and searched patiently. It only took him a day and a night to find all the kamikaze warriors that Du Wei had trained. Then, he killed all of them without leaving any loose ends. The hands of these men of sacrifice trained by Du Wei were stained with the lives of many innocent people. For this reason, Duan Lingtian did not feel pressured at all when he killed them. After Duan Lingtian killed all the kamikaze warriors that Du Wei had trained, he took out the supernuclear bombs that Du Wei had hidden all over Earth and threw them into the boundless space. After leaving behind mushroom clouds, they completely disappeared from this world. The soul of Yanhuang, Long Zhenghua, it's really Instructor Long. After destroying the supernuclear bombs left behind by Du Wei, the first thing Duan Lingtian did when he returned to Earth was to learn more about the soul of Yanhuang, one of the 2 strongest super soldier organizations on Earth. It was an organization that belonged to Hua Nation. In the end, he discovered that the leader of the soul of Yanhuang that Du Wei mentioned was actually his former instructor, Long Zhenghua. After Duanling Tian confirmed the leader of the soul of Yin Huang was his instructor, Long Jinghua, he did not linger around. In just a blink of an eye, he returned to Hua. With his current strength, it would only take him a breath's time to travel around the earth at full speed. Therefore, returning to Hua Nation was just a matter of a thought. My motherland, I, Ling Tian, am back. Back in Hua Nation, Duan Ling Tian hovered in the void, overlooking the beautiful rivers and mountains of his motherland. His eyes gradually became blurred. The memories of his previous life flooded into his mind bit by bit. Naturally, most of his memories were of his military career in his motherland. Blood Wolf, Wind Wolf's death has nothing to do with you. If you were a little more careful, even if he didn't die, he would have been bedridden in a vegetative state. To Wind Wolf, that would have been more painful than taking his life. Duan Lingtian still remembered Instructor Long's words when he decided to retire. Blood Wolf was his codename when he was serving in the Wolf-Fong Special Forces in Hua Nation. Naturally, this codename no longer belonged to him when he decided to retire from the Wolf-Fong Special Forces. This was because someone else had replaced him and became the new Blood Wolf. Duan Lingtian still remembered Instructor Long, trying to persuade him to stay when he decided to retire. However, he still insisted on leaving because he could not get over the hurdle. If it were not for his mistake, his comrade would not have died. If Wind Wolf did not die back then, even if he was bedridden and in a vegetative state, with the current medical technology on Earth, it would not be impossible to wake him up. When he thought of this, Duan Lingtian blamed himself even more. Back then, it was because of a small mistake that caused his comrade, Wind Wolf, to die in a cross-country SSS-level mission that he chose to retire from the Wolf-Fong Special Forces out of self-blame. Whoosh! Duan Lingtian did not know when, but he came back to his senses from the memories of the past. With a thought, he disappeared from the sky of Hua Nation again. When he reappeared, he was already outside a completely sealed-off base. This base was located in the middle of the vast mountains, like an iron bucket. Usually, if the base did not take the initiative to open it, not even a fly could fly in. Even the top mutant warriors on Earth could not break in. Even if they broke in, they might not be able to survive. This was because there was no lack of top mutant warriors on Earth in this base. Who is this person? When Duan Lingtian appeared outside the completely enclosed base, a group of staff in charge of daily surveillance in the base also noticed Duan Lingtian, who seemed to have appeared out of thin air from the surveillance screen in front of them. When they saw Duan Lingtian on the surveillance screen, they were stunned. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. The reason these staff in charge of surveillance were so stunned was mainly because the way Duan Lingtian appeared was too frightening. How did he appear? He can fly? Moreover, it seems like he has been standing in the air for some time. Even a top-wind mutant warrior can't stand in the air for such a long time without any flying equipment, right? Did he use some kind of invisible flying equipment? Impossible. I've already scanned him just now. He doesn't have a single technological product on him. In fact, he doesn't even have a communication device. And he's wearing an ancient costume. Could he be an actor from a film crew who got lost and came here? An actor? Have you ever seen an actor who can stand in the air for such a long time without any support? A moment later, the huge surveillance room became as noisy as a wet market. Their eyes were filled with shock, confusion, and disbelief as they stared at the handsome purple-clad young man standing in the air on the surveillance screen. It was as though there was some kind of special magic on him that attracted their attention. I just noticed his face. He's so handsome. Did you guys notice that his temperament is otherworldly? He's like a celestial being who has descended to Earth. Compared to him, those male celebrities who are extremely good-looking are just good-looking shells. There were only a few young girls in the monitoring room. At this moment, they were like hungry wolves as they stared at the purple figure on the screen with gleaming eyes. Just when everyone in the monitoring room was attracted by the purple figure standing in the air on the monitor screen, the purple figure suddenly appeared on the monitor screen. I'm looking for Long Jinghua, Instructor Long. A voice that seemed to contain a very special magic was clearly transmitted into everyone's ears. Where did this voice come from? Everyone in the monitoring room couldn't help but be stunned. His mouth moved just now. Was he talking? At this time, a male staff member pointed at the purple figure on the monitor screen and said with a slightly sluggish expression, "He's talking? But there's no loudspeaker where he is. There's no sound transmission device." The other staff members in the surveillance room were confused. Long Jinghua, isn't that the leader? Why would he call the leader instructor? At the same time, the person in charge of the surveillance room, a member of the soul of Yan Huang, was stunned. "I'm looking for Long Jinghua, Instructor Long." Chapter 25:34. In fact, when Duan Lingtian had returned to Hua Nation, he had used his divine consciousness to locate his former instructor, Long Jinghua. However, since Long Jinghua was in a completely sealed-off base, he did not appear in front of Long Jinghua. If he chose to appear in front of Long Jinghua, he would definitely destroy Long Zhanggua's base. Therefore, he chose to wait outside the base for Long Jinghua. Waiting was one thing, but he wasn't foolish enough to wait. He directly said that he wanted to see instructor Long Jinghua. Duan Lingtian's voice echoed in the air. The voice, which contained his power, spread through the base and into the ears of everyone in the base. "I'm looking for Long Jinghua, Instructor Long." When Duan Lingtian's words reached everyone's ears, it also reached Long Zhanggua's ears. Long Jinghua was a middle-aged man with big shoulders and a thick waist. When he heard Duan Lingtian's voice, he was in a meeting with his 10 generals in a spacious meeting room. If he was the soul of Yan Huang, then the 10 generals under him were the body of the soul of Yan Huang. They were indispensable to the organization. "Instructor Long?" Long Zhanggua's expression turned grave when he heard the voice that sounded like it was right next to his ear. He knew the person who spoke must be an expert. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to know such a method of communication. However, he had not heard the name Instructor Long for many years. This was because he had not been an instructor for many years. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At the same time, the other 10 people in the meeting room turned to look at Long Zhenghua in shock when they heard the voice. At this moment, one of them had a communication device that looked like a watch on his wrist. Then, as though he had received news, he looked at Long Zhenghua and said, "Leader, according to the surveillance department, the person who's looking for you is outside our base." "Outside our base?" Instantly, the other 9 people were shocked. Even Long Zhenghua had a look of surprise in his eyes. He raised his hand and pressed one of the buttons on the conference table in front of him. As soon as he pressed the button, a projection appeared on the table. It was a mirror image of the scene outside the base. At this moment, a purple-clad young man was hovering in the air outside the base. He stood there in the air, not relying on anything, and it didn't seem like he was using an invisible flying tool. According to the surveillance department, there's no technological equipment on him. He doesn't even have a communication device. The person who warned Long Zhenghua said, "Gasp, gasp, 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 gasp." As soon as the person who had warned Long Zhenghua finished speaking, everyone present, including Long Zhenghua, could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. I don't think even a peak wind special ability warrior would be able to do that. A young man who was sitting on the other side of the table looked at a young woman in a green suit. "If I don't use a flying tool, I can only stay in the air for half a minute at most." The young woman was one of the peak wind special ability warriors in the soul of Yan Huang. Among all the peak wind special ability warriors on Earth, she was one of the top 3 peak wind special ability warriors. For this reason, her words represented more than 90% of the peak wind special ability warriors. This person seems a little strange. He's wearing an ancient robe. Could he be from one of the reclusive clans in Hua? As far as I know, some of the reclusive clans have been living in the mountains and forests since ancient times without any contact with the outside world. Another person speculated, many of those reclusive clans still wear ancient robes. Their lifestyle is no different from ancient times. "I'm Long Zhenghua. Who are you?" At this moment, Long Zhenghua pressed another button on the table in front of him and asked. His voice was amplified outside the base and into Duan Lingtian's ears. "Instructor Long." Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up when he heard the familiar voice. He could not help but feel excited. In the end, he suppressed the excitement in his heart and sent a voice transmission that only Long Zhanghua could hear. Instructor Long, I'm Blood Wolf Ling Tian. Blood Wolf Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian revealed his identity in his past life. If he had only told Duan Ling Tian that he was Blood Wolf, Instructor Long might not know which generation he was from. Now that he had said his name, he believed that Instructor Long would definitely be able to react and confirm his identity in the first place. Instructor Long, I'm Blood Wolf Ling Tian. When Long Zhanghua heard Duan Ling Tian's voice transmission, he was dumbfounded. Ling Tian. How long had it been since he last heard this name? Ling Tian was the most outstanding soldier he had ever trained. If Ling Tian did not retire from the military, Ling Tian's achievements would not be inferior to his. Although Ling Tian had retired from the military and became an international mercenary, Ling Tian had never forgotten his roots. He had always taken it upon himself to protect his country. Long Zhanghua was very pleased with this. Unfortunately, Ling Tian had disappeared a few decades ago. Since then, Long Zhanghua had not heard any news about Ling Tian. Long Zhanghua had even sent someone to investigate Ling Tian, but to no avail. How did he change so much in just a few decades? Long Zhanghua could not help but frown as he looked at the purple-clad young man in the projection. He felt the purple-clad young man before him was a completely different person from the Blood Wolf Ling Tian in his memory. Although he had his doubts, he was still prepared to meet this person who claimed to be Blood Wolf Ling Tian. Today's meeting will end here. I'm going out for a while. Long Zhanghua looked at the other 10 people around the table and said, Leader, are you going to meet this person? Leader, there's something strange about this person. I'll go with you. That's right, Leader. We don't know this person's identity, and we don't know where he came from. I don't think it's appropriate for you to meet him like this. The 10 people in front of the conference table advised Long Zhanghua one after another. Didn't you hear him say he's Blood Wolf Ling Tian? Long Zhanghua asked with a frown on his face. Long Zhanghua was unaware that he was the only one who had heard what Duan Ling Tian had said to him earlier. Blood Wolf Ling Tian? The 10 people present were stunned when they heard Long Zhanggua's words. As one of the 10 great generals under Long Zhanggua's command, they had heard Long Zhanghua talk about his past in their free time. Among them were a group of elite soldiers whom Long Zhanghua had trained when he was an instructor. Among the elite soldiers, Blood Wolf Ling Tian was the best. He's Blood Wolf Ling Tian? The eyes of the young woman in the green suit lit up as a look of admiration appeared on her face. Before the Nirvana transformation, Blood Wolf Ling Tian was a powerhouse whose name resounded throughout the underground world. He was widely acknowledged as the strongest person in the underground world. At that time, although she was still young, she still saw Ling Tian as her idol and worshipped him greatly. It did not cross Duan Ling Tian's mind that Long Zhanghua was not the only person who had shown up. Rumble, rumble. As the door to the base opened, Long Zhanghua strode out in large strides like a dragon. Surprisingly, there were 10 people following behind him. With just a glance, Duan Ling Tian could tell they were the people he had probed with his divine consciousness earlier. They were the best superpowered warriors on Earth. Their souls were as strong as eminent celestials. Naturally, half of the reason why their souls were so strong was because they had taken the gene reagent. Therefore, their use of the soul was limited to communicating with some natural elements between heaven and earth, and from there, they could use all sorts of abilities of superpowered warriors. Are you Blood Wolf? Long Zhanghua asked solemnly as he stepped forward and looked at the purple-clad young man hovering in the air. Instructor Law. A smile appeared on Duan Ling Tian's face when he saw his instructor still looking the same as before. Then, he slowly landed in front of Long Zhanghua and stood as straight as a javelin. At the same time, he gave Long Zhanghua a standard military salute. Although Long Zhanghua was not certain if the purple-clad young man was Ling Tian, he still returned the salute. You look completely different from Blood Wolf. How can you prove that you're him? Long Zhanghua asked in a deep voice as he looked at Duan Ling Tian. Instructor Long, do you really want me to prove it? Duan Ling Tian looked at Long Zhanghua meaningfully when he heard Long Zhanggua's words. A hint of mockery could be seen in his eyes. Speak. Long Zhanggua's tone left no room for doubt. I remember the first time I went to your house. Sister-in-law punished you, by kneeling on a durian for 15 minutes. Initially, she wanted you to kneel for half an hour, but when she saw that I was around, Duan Lingtian said slowly. However, before he could finish speaking, Long Zhanghua hastily interrupted him. All right, that's enough. I can't believe it's really you. At this moment, Long Zhanghua could clearly sense the strange gazes that were directed at him from behind. These strange gazes came from the 10 great battle generals under his command, causing his dignified face to heat up for a moment. Boy, I haven't heard from you for the past few decades. I've sent people everywhere to look for you, but it's to no avail. Where have you been all these years? Long Zhanghua changed the topic and looked at Duan Lingtian as he asked, What's wrong with you? Chapter 25:35. Duan Lingtian's heart skipped a beat when he heard Long Zhanggua's words. It turned out that after he was betrayed and killed, and disappeared without a trace, this instructor long in front of him had once sent people to inquire about him. At that time, he had already retired from the military, so he did not have any relationship with Long Zhanghua. All he had was a personal relationship. Instructor Long, after I disappeared a few decades ago, a series of things happened to me. It's hard to explain in a few words, but it's also unbelievable. Duan Lingtian looked at Long Zhanghua and said, There are some things that you'll only believe if you see them with your own eyes. Kid, why are you keeping me in suspense? If you have something to say, just say it. Long Zhanghua said impatiently when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. He was slightly annoyed. In that case, Instructor Long, you and the 10 people behind you will follow me into outer space. Duan Lingtian did not waste any more words when he heard Long Zhanggua's impatience. With a wave of his hand, he brought Long Zhanghua and the 10 people behind him into the air. We're flying. How is this possible? Not only can he fly by himself, but he can also bring the 11 of us with him. This was because Duan Lingtian had intentionally slowed down when he brought Long Zhanghua and the others into the air. Therefore, Long Zhanghua and the others could clearly see themselves rising into the air at an exaggerated speed as they flew into outer space. The buildings in their eyes gradually became smaller until they could no longer see clearly. Mountains and rivers appeared in their eyes as well. In the end, a beautiful blue planet appeared before their eyes. The planet grew smaller and smaller in their eyes as it grew further and further away from them. When the planet became the size of a basketball in their eyes, they finally stopped flying into outer space. For a moment, they realized that they were suspended in outer space as though they were being supported by an invisible force. All 11 of them, including Long Zhanghua, stood in outer space. Their bodies were stiff, and they did not dare to move. Not far away from them, Duan Lingtian stood there with his hands behind his back, looking indifferently at the basketball-sized earth in front of him. Such a technique is comparable to the technique of a god, right? Moments later, Long Zhanghua and the others regained their senses. When they looked at Duan Lingtian again, there was only shock in their eyes. Was this even something a human could do? Blood Wolf, you little. No matter how confused Long Zhanghua was, he could not bring himself to call Duan Lingtian kid when he tried to address him as Duan Lingtian. Now, the purple-clothed young man before him was like a god in his eyes. Unknowingly, he felt the distance between him and the purple-robed young man gradually widening. Even if he knew that the purple-robed young man was a soldier he had trained in the past, Instructor Long, I'm still the same blood wolf as before. There's no need to hold back between us. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly when he saw Long Zhanggua's hesitation. Ask away if you have any questions. No matter how unbelievable my power is, I'm still the same soldier you trained in the past. Good boy. You almost scared the hell out of me. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Long Zhanghua finally let go of his worries. He said snappily, What have you been doing for the past few decades? He's simply amazing the world with a single brilliant feat. Although Long Zhanghua had thought about this more than once over the years, Duan Lingtian was not the only one. If the soldier he trained in the past did not go missing, his achievements would not be inferior to his. However, it did not cross his mind that Duan Lingtian's achievements would not only be on par with his, but it had also reached a stage that he could not comprehend. The technique that the other party was using right now was comparable to the techniques of the immortals and gods in the ancient myths and legends of China. At this moment, the 10 men standing behind Long Zhenghua looked at Duanling Tian with an expression of disbelief and reverence. They revered the strong. However, the purple-robed young man's strength was beyond their understanding. They could only look up to him. As expected of the blood wolf, Ling Tian, the king of mercenaries, Ling Tian, the young woman in the green suit, as a top-wind elemental warrior, looked at Duanling Tian as though she was a fangirl looking at her idol. She was infatuated and fanatical. She discovered that she, who used to idolize Ling Tian, worshipped Ling Tian even more now. At this moment, Ling Tian was like a god in her heart. He was so high and mighty that he could not be blasphemed. Actually, I died a few decades ago. Duanling Tian sighed when he heard Long Zhenggua's question. What? Whether it was Long Zhenghua or the 10 people behind him, all of them were confused when they heard Duanling Tian's words. Did this fellow just say he died a few decades ago? Then, who was the person standing in front of them now? Was he a ghost? Bloodwolf, your joke isn't funny at all, Long Zhenghua said sternly. Long Zhenghua said with a straight face. He thought Duanling Tian was joking. What a joke. If this kid had died a few decades ago, how could he be standing in front of him now? Instructor Long, I'm not joking. Duanling Tian shook his head. Then, under the skeptical gazes of Long Zhenghua and the others, he slowly said, a few decades ago, I was betrayed by my manager and died in Country R. However, I was lucky. Although my body died, my soul traveled to another world. That world is a world where the strong are respected. Martial artists cultivate to defy the heavens and change their fates. It was from that world that I returned to the world where Earth is located. Duanling Tian continued to speak. When Duanling Tian mentioned that the person who killed him was Du Wei, the leader of the Devil's Hand, the 10 people behind Long Zhenghua were shocked. The Devil's Hand was the archenemy of the soul of Yin Huang. The leader of the Devil's Hand, Du Wei, was a huge threat to the soul of Yin Huang. Even their leader had said that he might not be a match for Du Wei the next time they met. For this reason, they had been under a lot of pressure recently. No wonder he knows the complete form and will fist. As it turns out, he's your manager and has the form and will fist manual that you left behind. Realization dawned on Long Zhenghua, Senior Ling Tian. At this moment, a young man among the 10 people behind Long Zhenghua looked at Duanling Tian with bright eyes. Since Du Wei killed you, you can seek revenge and kill him now. With your current strength, isn't it child's play for you to kill him? The others nodded in agreement when they heard the young man's words. He's already dead. Duanling Tian said indifferently, the first thing I did when I returned to Earth was to look for him. As Duanling Tian spoke, he took out a jade token and crushed it. A few moments later, a mirror image appeared in front of Long Zhenghua and the others. The mirror image kept changing until it showed Duanling Tian bringing Du Wei to a barren planet outside the solar system. The barren planet was 5 times the size of Earth. Following that, Tang Jinghua and the others saw another scene. With a raise of his hand, Duanling Tian slammed his palm down and destroyed the planet that was larger than Earth. Instantly gasp, 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 gasp. Tang Jinghua and the others were stunned for a long time before they inhaled sharply. An expression of shock and disbelief could be seen on their faces. When they were brought to outer space by Duanling Tian, they knew Duanling Tian had unfathomable strength. However, they did not expect Duanling Tian would be able to destroy a planet that was larger than Earth with just a wave of his hand. Did this not mean that? If Duanling Tian wanted to, he could destroy Earth with just a wave of his hand. That planet, it's much larger than Earth, right? Long Zhenghua asked as he looked at Duanling Tian.
Yes.
Duanling Tian nodded and said nonchalantly, it's about 5 times the size of Earth. Long Zhenghua and the others who had just regained their senses were stunned again. Soon after, Long Zhenghua and the others saw Du Wei, the leader of the Devil's Hand, being frozen to death in space. This made them realize that the Devil's Hand's leader, Du Wei, had been frozen to death. It was impossible for ordinary people to survive in outer space. Although Du Wei is dead, as far as I know, He has planted many supernuclear bombs all over Earth. It's said that if he dies, his men of sacrifice will detonate those supernuclear bombs. Long Zhenghua looked at Duan Lingtian warily and asked, "How long has it been since you killed Duan Lingtian?" "About 10 days. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled. "However, you don't have to worry, Instructor Long. Before I came to look for you, I've already dealt with those supernuclear bombs. I won't leave behind any threats to Earth." "That's good. That's good." Long Zhenghua heaved a sigh of relief. Long Zhenghua heaved a sigh of relief before he solemnly saluted Duan Lingtian. "Comrade Lingtian, thank you for everything you've done for Earth." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At the same time, the 10 people behind Long Zhenghua saluted Duan Lingtian as well. Their gazes, when they looked at Duan Lingtian, turned even more fervent and admiring. "Instructor Long, I'm also a member of Earth. This is what I should do." Duan Lingtian smiled. Chapter 2536. When Due told Duan Lingtian about the aliens who brought the Nirvana change to Earth, Duan Lingtian also felt there was something wrong with those aliens. He was certain they wanted something from Earth. Otherwise, why would they restrict the development of space navigation technology on Earth? It was obvious that they were afraid of humans leaving Earth. The aliens who brought the Nirvana change to Earth a few decades ago. Long Zhenghua could not help but frown when Duan Lingtian mentioned the aliens. He also felt that there was something wrong with the aliens, but he could not pinpoint exactly what it was. All he knew was that there was no such thing as a free lunch in the world. After a short discussion between Duan Lingtian and Long Zhenghua, Duan Lingtian found out that both of them were worried and fearful of the aliens. Naturally, Long Zhenghua was wary of the aliens' strength. On the other hand, Duan Lingtian was worried that the aliens would bring danger to Earth. Earth was his home, and he would not allow anything to happen to Earth. "Instructor Long, did the aliens leave behind any clues about their identities when they came to Earth?" Duan Lingtian asked. "They did mention it." Long Zhenghua nodded. "They said that the stellar system they came from is similar to our solar system. It's located in the Milky Way. They also said that they came from planet Lissa, and they're from the Barker family, the most powerful family on planet Lissa." "Planet Lissa? The Barker family?" Duan Lingtian nodded. Then, he turned to Long Zhenghua and the others and said, "Instructor Long, everyone, please come with me to look for the aliens and deal with the potential threat to Earth. I'll also impart some cultivation techniques to you along the way." Long Zhenghua and the others' eyes lit up when they heard that Duan Lingtian was going to bring them to deal with the potential threat to Earth. Long Zhenghua's breathing quickened when he heard Duan Lingtian's last sentence. As for the 10 people behind Long Zhenghua, all of them looked at Long Zhenghua enviously. "We'll wait for someone here first." At the same time, Duan Lingtian said to Long Zhenghua and the others, "Wait for someone?" Long Zhenghua and the others were stunned when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. Since Duan Lingtian had brought them here to wait for someone, it meant that person could also come here. It was obvious that someone who was capable of coming here alone was not an ordinary person. Crack! Duan Lingtian lifted his hand and crushed a communication jade token to send a message to Tang Xiao. Then, he looked at Long Zhenghua and extended his divine sense to scan Long Zhenghua's body. In the end, he confirmed what cultivation method he was going to impart to Long Zhenghua. In Duan Lingtian's memory, there were many cultivation methods of the rebirth martial emperor from the Saint Province Realm's Cloud Continent. He could easily find 7 or 8 cultivation methods that were suitable for Long Zhenghua. Boundless Heavenly Heaven Boundless Technique. Duan Lingtian was Lingtian. Long Lingtian's was memorize the cultivation technique. Long Tian was as a was. This, Long Zhenghua couldn't help but be overjoyed when he read through the new information in his mind. Although he had only cultivated a shallow breathing technique in the past, he was still overjoyed. However, this did not affect him from being able to see how profound the cultivation method represented by the words that appeared in his memory was. The Boundless Heavenly Heaven Boundless Technique. Just from the name, I can tell it's an amazing cultivation technique. Long Zhenghua was so excited that he could not regain his senses for a long time. The 10 people standing behind Long Zhonggua noticed Long Zhonggua's loss of composure, but they did not know the reason behind it. Otherwise, their eyes would have turned red from envy. I thought you've forgotten about me. A resentful voice sounded from behind Long Zhonggua. A moment later, a slightly resentful voice rang out, causing Long Zhonggua and the others to look left and right in shock. However, they did not see anyone in the surroundings. Swoosh. While they were looking around, a young woman dressed in black appeared next to Duan Lingtian. In Long Zhonggua and the others' eyes, it was as though the black-clad woman had appeared out of thin air. Who's she? Is she another powerhouse comparable to a god like Senior Lingtian? The people standing behind Long Zhonggua were shocked. How beautiful! At the same time, everyone was captivated by the black-clad woman standing next to Duan Lingtian. It was their first time seeing such a beautiful woman. Moreover, the aura she exuded was so elegant that it was difficult for them to disrespect her. The newcomer was none other than Tang Xiaoxiao. I need your help with something. Duan Lingtian did not beat around the bush. He cut to the chase and said, I'm looking for a planet in the Milky Way called Planet Lissa. Can you take a look at the star map in your hand and see if it's marked? Duan Lingtian would be able to find Planet Lissa if he spent some time looking for it. However, Duan Lingtian did not intend to waste his time. Unless Tang Xiaoxiao did not mark Planet Lissa on the star map in her hand. If that was the case, he and Tang Xiaoxiao would have to look for it themselves. You're really rude. Tang Xiaoxiao glared at Duan Lingtian before she raised her hand and took out the star chart she had obtained from her ancestor. Then, she began to study the stars and galaxies in the Milky Way and the planets in the stars and galaxies in the stars and galaxies. I found it. Planet Lissa. About 3 minutes later, Tang Xiaoxiao pointed at a mark on the star map in her hand and said to Duan Lingtian, Lead the way? Lead the way. We'll go there. Duan Lingtian said. Tang Xiaoxiao seemed to be used to Duan Lingtian's rudeness. She did not waste any time and led the way. Duan Lingtian, Long Zhonggua, and the others followed behind her. Planet Lissa was located in a star system in the Milky Way called the Taylor Galaxy. It was one of the 3 life-preserving planets in this star system. Moreover, it was the largest life-preserving planet among the 3 life-preserving planets. In the Milky Way galaxy, Planet Lissa in the Taylor Galaxy was also a very famous planet. Because the technological civilization on Planet Lissa in the entire Milky Way could be ranked as the first echelon. The most powerful family on Planet Lissa, the Barker family, was one of the 10 most powerful families in the Milky Way. The 10 most powerful families in the Milky Way represented the 10 most powerful forces in the Milky Way. All of them had the most advanced technology in the Milky Way. However, today's Planet Lissa was not peaceful. Someone had come to provoke the most powerful family on Planet Lissa, the Barker family. People of the Barker family, listen up. I'll give you an hour to deploy your most advanced battleships and weapons. If I'm still alive after an hour, there's no need for the Barker family to exist anymore. A voice that was not amplified by any means was clearly heard on Planet Lissa. Everyone on Planet Lissa, no matter what they were doing, heard the voice loud and clear. Planet Lissa was in an uproar. Heavens! Can someone tell me, whose voice is that? It's like the voice just rang in my ears. Who the hell is that? How can he be so powerful? How dare he provoke the Barker family? Who the hell is he? Does this guy have a death wish, or does he really have the strength? Similar comments could be heard all over Planet Lissa. At the same time, on the internet of Planet Lissa, an extremely clear video appeared in the eyes of all the netizens on Planet Lissa. The background of the video was the headquarters of the Barker family. It was a huge castle that occupied a large area. And now, in the sky not far away from the castle, there was a figure standing in the air. As the camera zoomed in, it could be seen. It was a young man wearing a strange purple robe. The young man stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He stared coldly at the huge castle that housed most of the important members of the Barker family. Heavens! Who the hell is he? He's able to hover in the air without a flying device. Maybe he's using a stealth flying device? Impossible. Didn't you see that the video was posted by Heaven's Eye Media? In front of the special camera of Heavenly Eye Media, no matter what kind of invisible flying tool it is, It can't be invisible in the photos or videos it takes. It's really Heaven's Eye Media's video. On Planet Lissa's internet, the netizens were dumbfounded. Is this guy even human? Being able to stand in the air without any means of flight had already overturned the education they had received since they were born. Cultivator. It's a cultivator. Right at this moment, someone repeatedly typed the word cultivator on the internet, with a series of exclamation marks mixed together with the word cultivator. Cultivator? While the netizens on Planet Lissa were still in a state of confusion, the Barker family's headquarters, which was the huge castle that occupied a large area, was not calm at all. In a spacious meeting room, the Barker family's higher-ups, who had returned from all over Planet Lissa, were gathered together. Can anyone tell me, why would a cultivator come looking for trouble with the Barker family? This cultivator is no ordinary cultivator. He managed to escape the detection of the Barker family's most advanced radar. If he was an ordinary cultivator, he would have been detected by our radar and killed by our defensive weapons. Who is he? Why is he here? Chapter 25:37. Duan Lingtian hovered in the air with his hands clasped behind his back. He stared coldly at the gigantic castle in front of him. This was the headquarters of one of the 10 most powerful families in the Milky Way, the Barker family. If he wanted to, he could destroy this castle with a wave of his hand. However, he did not do so. Ever since he found out that the Barker family was one of the 10 most powerful families in the Milky Way and had the most advanced technology in the Milky Way, he had an idea. And this idea would bring about earth-shattering changes to his home planet, Earth. Even his motherland on Earth, Hua, was expected to enter the first echelon of the many forces in the Milky Way in the near future. It was because of this that he did not want to destroy the Barker family. They're here. Tang Xiao's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. She had brought Long Zhenghua and the others to Duan Lingtian's side. Just like Duan Lingtian, she hovered in the air without the use of any flying tools. Naturally, Long Zhenghua and the others were led by Tang Xiao as they flew in the air. If Tang Xiao withdrew her power, they would lose their footing. Unless they fell into a deep river or deep sea, they would either die or be crippled. Almost at the same time that Tang Xiao and the others appeared. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Within the castle, several flying tools rose into the air and flew towards Duan Lingtian and the others. In the blink of an eye, half of the sky was filled with flying tools. The people in these flying tools were the leaders of the Barker family. The leader of the group was none other than the patriarch of the Barker family. He stood on top of a flying tool that looked like a speedboat. His face was full of smiles. When he was still some distance away from Duan Lingtian, the flying tool beneath his feet came to a halt. It was as if he did not dare to cross the line. Sir, I am the patriarch of the Barker family, Lei Lin. I don't think the Barker family has done anything to offend you. The patriarch of the Barker family, Lei Lin, spoke to Duan Lingtian through the loudspeaker of his communicator. The fact that the purple-clad young man could evade the Barker family's radar meant that he was no ordinary cultivator. If possible, he and his clansmen didn't want the Barker family to provoke a powerful cultivator. It would be best if they could kill a powerful cultivator. If they couldn't, and the cultivator decided to seek revenge in the future, the Barker family would not be able to fend them off no matter how powerful they were. The head of the Barker family, is it? Duan Lingtian glanced at Lei Lin and said, a few decades ago, a group of people from the Barker family went to a star system called the Solar System. They went to the only planet in the Solar System, Earth. Right now, go and call out the leader of that group. When Duan Lingtian finished speaking, there was no room for doubt in his tone. It was as though he was giving an order. How can you speak to our patriarch like that? Damn it. The patriarch is being courteous to you because he's giving you face. Don't be so shameless. Seeing the purple-clad cultivators speak to their patriarch in such a commanding tone, many of the Barker family's higher-ups were enraged. They glared at Duan Lingtian, their eyes blazing with fury. Shut up. Just as the Barker family's higher-ups were reprimanding Duan Lingtian suddenly spoke. His voice was like a clap of thunder, drowning out the voices of the Barker family's higher-ups. I'm talking to your patriarch. Why are you interrupting? Show some respect. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, the Barker family's higher-ups reacted. Duan Lingtian didn't do anything, but every single one of the Barker family's higher-ups who had reprimanded Duan Lingtian earlier had their left arm severed at the shoulder. Judging by the cut, it was made by a sharp blade. Arg! Arg! The Barker family's higher-ups let out heart-wrenching screams in unison. Frantically, they reached out with their right hand and pressed their severed left arm against the wound. Then, they each took out a bottle of glowing blue medicine and drank it. A few moments later, their left shoulder stopped bleeding and their left arm was reattached. It looked unscathed. Duan Lingtian wasn't surprised by this. Tang Xiaoxiao had told him that some of the more advanced civilizations had developed genetic medicine that could heal external injuries. Even if one's arm or leg was severed, they could be reattached as long as they consumed the corresponding genetic medicine within a short period of time. However, just because Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao weren't surprised didn't mean that Long Jinghua and the others weren't. Isn't this genetic medicine a little too powerful? Even with the best healing gene potion that we have developed on Earth, such an injury would take at least half a month to heal, right? But these guys, they healed in the blink of an eye. Long Jinghua and the other Barker family members exchanged a look. They could see the shock and disbelief in each other's eyes. On the other hand, Long Jinghua and the rest of the Barker family members were still amazed by the efficacy of the genetic medicine. On the other hand, the Barker family leaders, including the Barker family leader and the netizens of Lissa who were watching the live stream, were all in a state of shock. How? How did he do it? Isn't his speed a little too fast? In the blink of an eye, the Barker family members lost their left arms. That speed. It's faster than the speed of light. The Barker family members weren't the only ones who were shocked. Even the netizens on planet Lissa were shocked. While they were still in shock, they quickly spread the news throughout planet Lissa. Soon, everyone on planet Lissa knew that the Barker family had provoked a powerful being who called himself a cultivator. At this time, on the internet of planet Lissa, some knowledgeable people had begun to explain the meaning of the word cultivator. The netizens on planet Lissa were finally able to unravel the mystery of the cultivator. Cultivators absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to cultivate their bodies, allowing them to possess unparalleled strength. In the end, they can even possess the strength of gods. It is said that there are other galaxies outside of our Milky Way. Among those galaxies, there are galaxies ruled by cultivators. I once heard from an interstellar merchant that some cultivators can even defeat the legendary disaster-level battleship on their own. When the netizens on planet Lissa heard the news, they were shocked. A disaster-level battleship? That's the product of an SS-grade technological civilization. Our Milky Way is only an A-grade technological civilization. There's no way we can develop a disaster-level battleship. So, a cultivator who can defeat a disaster-level battleship on his own can even destroy all the technological civilizations in our Milky Way? Oh my God. This is too scary. As the netizens on planet Lissa continued to discuss the news, their mood was clouded by a layer of haze. This cultivator, could he be the kind of cultivator who can defeat a disaster-level battleship on his own? A netizen on planet Lissa's netizens posted a post on one of the netizens' forums. As soon as the post was posted, it was pushed to the top of the list. OP, are you hallucinating? The disaster-level battleship is a mythical existence. A cultivator who can defeat a disaster-level battleship is also a mythical existence. It's impossible for such a person to exist in our Milky Way. That's right. OP is an idiot. Identification complete. +1, +1. This post inexplicably became popular, and it was pushed to the hot topic of the forum, attracting many netizens of planet Lissa to watch and watch. Meanwhile, the netizens on planet Lissa were in an uproar. The members of the Barker family surveillance department were studying a video in a frenzy. They slowed down the video and slowed it down again and again. It was a video of the Barker family members' left arms being chopped off. The members of the Barker family tried to slow down the video to find traces of the Duan Lingtian's attack. However, they were destined to be disappointed. Patriarch, we tried our best to slow down the video, but we still can't see how the cultivator did it. We didn't even see how he chopped off Elderbree's left arm. Leyland, the patriarch of the Barker family, received a message from the head of the surveillance department. Immediately, his expression changed. At this time, he also realized the seriousness of the matter. Investigate. Hurry up and investigate. Who the hell is it? A few decades ago, he brought people to the solar system. He went to the planet called Earth in the solar system. Once you find out who he is, I want him to come out and see me. Leyland bellowed through a megaphone at the Barker family's higher-ups. The members of the Barker family shuddered. Uncle. At this moment, at the back of the crowd, a young man in a silver suit drove a flying tool to Leyland's side. He lowered his head and said timidly, "Back then, I was the one who brought people to the solar system, to that Earth." It's him. Long Jinghua, who was standing behind Duan Lingtian, pointed at the young man. A few decades ago, he was the one who brought people to Earth. He brought a few hundred years of advanced civilization to Earth. It was also him and the people around him that limited the development of Earth's technological civilization and space navigation. Chapter 25:38. Long Jinghua could still remember. Back then, when this young man in a silver suit had arrived on Earth, he had been in high spirits. Every leader of a major country on Earth revolved around him. Now, this once high-spirited alien leader was as docile as a cat in front of the patriarch of the Barker family. In fact, when he mentioned that he was the one who had gone to Earth, his tone was full of anxiety. "Reynold, what did you do on that planet?" Leyland looked at his nephew and asked in a low voice. This nephew of his was the child left behind by his only younger brother. That was because his younger brother and his wife had died in order to save him. Thus, he treated this nephew of his as his own son. I. Reynold wanted to say something, but he hesitated. At the same time, he glanced at the purple-clad young man standing in the distance with fear. He could tell that this young man was here. This purple-clad young man had probably come looking for him because of that planet. However, he would never have dreamed that this would happen. That backward planet was actually related to a cultivator with extraordinary strength. "Speak." Leyland saw his nephew's hesitation, and he glared at him and shouted coldly, "I saw that the planet was backward, so I brought them a technological civilization that was a few hundred years more advanced than their current one. I had good intentions." Reynold lowered his head as he spoke, his eyes flickering with uncertainty. "What do you had good intentions?" However, as soon as Lei Luo finished speaking, a sneer was heard. The sneer came from Duan Lingtian. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Duan Lingtian raised his hand gently. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk after that, Raylo, who was next to Lei Lin, immediately left the flying tool under his feet and shot toward Duan Lingtian like a cannonball. Before anyone could react, Duan Lingtian had already grabbed Reynold by the neck. Duan Lingtian lifted Reynold into the air. Since Duan Lingtian had removed the power that was holding Reynold, Reynold was now dangling in Duan Lingtian's hand. His face was as red as blood, and he could not breathe. It was obvious that he would suffocate to death soon. "Sir, don't cross the line." Leyland's expression changed as he glared at Duan Lingtian. "Cross the line?" Duan Lingtian smiled faintly at Leyland's words. "I was going to have some fun with the Barker family, but I've changed my mind. Perhaps I shouldn't have wasted so much time on the Barker family from the start." As Duan Lingtian spoke, the energy in his body transformed into waves of invisible energy that swept out and shrouded the back of the gigantic castle in front of him. The back of the castle was where the Barker family's armory was located. The Barker family owned 37 of the most powerful warships, equipped with the most advanced weaponry. They were usually docked there, protecting the Barker family like guardians. Bang, 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 bang. Almost at the same time when Duan Lingtian finished speaking, the huge castle in front shook as though it had experienced a violent earthquake. Immediately after, a series of thunderous booms came from the back of the castle from afar. What's going on? An earthquake? Every member of the Barker family, including the Barker family patriarch, turned to look in the direction of the commotion. With just one look, Their eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. Good heavens! What did they just see? Under the watchful eyes of the Barker family's higher-ups, a cloud of dust rose from the back of the huge castle. A moment later, 37 mountain-like behemoths rose into the air from the dust-filled ground. It didn't take long for the behemoths to reveal themselves. They were warships, each emblazoned with the insignia of the Barker family. Those are transcendent-level warships? Heavens, they really are transcendent-level warships. There are 37 of them. I've heard that the Barker family owns 37 transcendent-level warships. I can't believe it's true. These are the foundation of the Barker family's survival. Is the Barker family going to use all of their transcendent-level warships to kill that cultivator? On Planet Lissa's internet, a group of netizens who saw the 37 transcendent-level warships through the livestream were stunned. One transcendent-level warship was already scary enough. Now that 37 transcendent-level warships had been deployed, they couldn't help but tremble in fear. Leylin, the patriarch of the Barker family, saw the 37 extraordinary-class warships and turned to the high-ranking members of the Barker family behind him. He bellowed, "Damn it! Who gave you the permission to use the transcendent-level warships?" Leylin knew that once the transcendent-level warships were deployed, it would mean that they would have to fight to the death with that cultivator. It would be fine if they could kill the cultivator, but if they couldn't, the Barker family would be the ones to suffer when the cultivator recovered. Patriarch, without your permission, no one can use the transcendent-level warships. Yes, Patriarch. Without your permission, no one can use the family's transcendent-level warships. The Barker family's higher-ups felt wronged by Leylin's glare. They were also dumbfounded by the situation in front of them. They didn't know what was going on. Leylin, the head of the Barker family, snapped out of his daze upon hearing the words of the Barker family. That's right. The transcendent-level warships were the Barker family's most powerful weapon. Without his permission, they would not be deployed. Could it be? All of a sudden, a thought flashed through Leylin's mind. As if he had thought of something, he immediately turned around and looked at the purple-clothed youth who was holding his nephew in the distance with an expression of shock and disbelief. A terrifying thought surfaced in his mind. That was, the great commotion before their eyes was all caused by this purple-clothed young man. The strange movements of the 37 transcendent-level warships must have something to do with this young man. This seemed to confirm Leylin's suspicions. So these are the transcendent-level warships that the Barker family relies on to survive? They don't seem like much. They're much worse than the disaster-level warships I saw in the Cost Galaxy. Duan Lingtian commanded the 37 transcendent-level warships to speed up again. In the blink of an eye, they appeared around him and Tang Xiaoxiao, circling around them. The weapons of the 37 transcendent-level warships were pointed at the Barker family. In an instant, whoosh, 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 whoosh. The Barker family members' expressions changed. If they couldn't figure out what was going on by now, they would have lived their lives in vain. All 37 of the Barker family's warships were under the control of the cultivator before them. What's going on? These transcendent-level warships don't seem to belong to the Barker family. It looks more like this cultivator is controlling them. Look at how he controls them. It's like he's playing with toys. Who the hell is he? At the same time, the internet on Planet Lissa was filled with awe. Of course. Tang Xiaoxiao continued Duan Lingtian's words. She smiled at Duan Lingtian and said, "These transcendent-level warships are 2 grades lower than the disaster-level warships. I've recorded everything you did in the Cost Galaxy using the mirror image talisman. Now, let's show them." Under Duan Lingtian's shocked gaze, Tang Xiaoxiao raised her hand and took out a Dao talisman before she crushed it. A moment later, a huge mirror image that was constantly changing appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It was also shown to everyone on Planet Lissa through a live broadcast. The mirror image formed by the mirror image talisman was similar to a projection. It showed the scene of Duan Lingtian and Tang Xiaoxiao being surrounded by 18 disaster-level warships from the Garnier family in the Cost Galaxy. Are those disaster-level warships? Heavens! Those are the legendary disaster-level warships. It's exactly the same as the legends. I once obtained a portrait of a disaster-level warship from an interstellar merchant. The 18 disaster-level warships in the projection are indeed disaster-level warships. They're 2 grades higher than transcendent-level warships. These two, they're surrounded by 18 disaster-level warships, but they're still alive? Isn't it obvious? If they're dead, why would they be here on planet Lissa? Everyone on planet Lissa was shocked by the projection that appeared before them. However, they were even more shocked by what happened after that. Whoosh! A purple light flashed, and the purple-clad young man in the projection disappeared. In the next moment, one of the disaster-level warships was destroyed. A moment later, they saw the purple-clad young man in the projection. As the 17 disaster-level battleships opened fire at the same time, the purple-robed young man emerged from the barrage unscathed. Silence fell on planet Lissa at this moment. In just a blink of an eye, one of the disaster-level warships was destroyed. Under the bombardment of 17 disaster-level warships, the purple-clad young man was unscathed. Heavens! Is he still human? How terrifying! How terrifying! No wonder he was able to toy with the 37 transcendent-level warships of the Barker family. With the power he displayed in the projection, even a disaster-level warship is no different from a toy in front of him. Duan Lingtian's peerless strength was displayed before everyone on planet Lissa. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.